Good evening. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you doing, Mr. Ham?
I'm
Welcome to
doing good. How are
Breaking
you?
Bad. I'm doing great, man.
Yep,
Actually,
yep.
dude, when you pull a Wemby, you feel really good. Kind of makes your whole day
I
go well.
know. I'm kind of nervous to open the boxes I have.
Dude, so funny thing, I feel the same way after pulling this card. I have no
hmm
interest in pulling and opening anymore.
You
I'm
shouldn't
kind of
though.
I'm like frozen. I'm like, well, first of all, I'll tell you, I bought 5 game boxes.
hmm
And now I definitely don't want to open any more of those. I'm like, well, I cannot hit another Wemby, and that's the best card you can hit. Like, why fucking open any more game boxes?
Correct. Yeah, like
you
what are
know?
the odds now of you hitting another one like that?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, I jumped into a break today for Upper Deck. I have like 6 boxes. It was a random team. I ended up with the Devils. I didn't get the Blackhawks, obviously. There was one Bedard pulled out of the 6 boxes. I did get a Luke Hughes canvas young gun, so I did get a good card, as well as some other Luke Hughes as well. So
Six. It was a 6 box break. How much was the spot?
that one I think was $57
So
for a random.
from what I'm hearing, right, is that there's 1.75 Connors per case. So you're almost guaranteed one per case, right?
But I feel like I've already seen more hit at retail than I have in hobby.
Have you? Because okay, so we're gonna talk about that because I want to get Connors. I don't know if I should go after hobby breaks or if I should chase retail. I just went out today looking in my local area. None of my stores have the retail hockey out yet.
Yeah, none of ours do either.
I did see some that's been pulled, and somebody else was breaking some pack attack jackpot or whatever. He was ripping some. So
hmm
is that what you're thinking? You think that's the play to go after retail or go after
It might.
breaks
I'm just watching what's getting broken right now. I mean, my local store had it looked like a case or two, and they
yeah,
sold out within the first hour of all the boxes.
of the retail
No, of the
of
hobby.
hobby? Okay, hobby.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they didn't
but
have any retail.
that's the thing is if hobby if you're only going to get, let's say, maybe 2 Connors per case, then I think I'd rather spend that money on retail. But
Correct.
I don't know.
Well, I feel like there's more. I mean, Connor's in a bunch of inserts as well, so there's a heavy mix. I just feel like I've already seen more Bedards pulled out of blasters and tins than I have out of hobby.
Okay.
But that's just from what I've seen so far through the Facebook threads that I'm on, and stuff I've seen in chats or Instagram and stuff like that. Um, but and I've already heard people, oh, I pulled this out of, or my friend pulled this Bedard at a shop. The shop owner offered him another hobby box. He took it, which is like a $300. That card's selling for about $1,000 right now. 900 to $1,000. Buy it now, like off the rip.
So I
So
heard
you
that
hear that type
story.
of stuff too, but it's whatever.
So that story to me is an example of knowledge of the product and mathematics and statistics of the box. Like you should just know, like if you're a hobbyist, okay, you should know there's only 1 or 2 per case, son. And if you just
Yep.
hit one of them, then you need to leave that store. You're not likely to find another one in that store. Go to another store and open a box. But to just
Yeah.
think you're going to flip it, even if the guy gave him 2, in fact, the guy could give you 3 boxes, and you're
Mhm.
very unlikely to pull a Connor. And that's again, it's the math, right? It's the gambling side that people.
Well, that and there's multiple versions of the Young Gun this year as well. So you
Ooh,
have your base card, you have your canvas card, you have a clear card. Obviously, you have a one of
ooh,
one. You have the ones numbered to 100. The opportunity there is, I mean, they have the Dazzler looking card, which isn't numbered. I've ever seen somebody pull one of those. Those sell for about 2,500. So I mean, if you get it right now, I'd
whoa.
move off of it as quick as possible and buy back in later. We all know it's going to drop, but how
So
fast?
you would sell raw, or would you flash grade these?
I think it would matter what I'd pull. I think if I pulled, I'd have to look at the card. If I look at the card and I just like this thing to dime, do you try and black label it immediately? Could you send it to
See,
Beckett?
no, I don't send anything to Beckett.
Listen, hey, but listen, what outsells a black label?
And,
Nothing.
but it's not. It's but here's the thing. I'm
Nothing.
not looking at that. I'm not looking at that. I'm looking for a PSA 10 or a 9 because, like, here I give you an example. If it came back a PSA 8, I'd crack it again. But I'm not gonna. If it came back a PSA 9, I'd probably sell it and move on. But
Well,
that's
if it
just me.
came back, BGS 9.5, what do you do?
Again, I don't play with BGS, so I'm only going
I don't.
PSA.
I know that. I know that. Let's be hypothetical. Everything's open.
Okay. Okay. So if I see a 9.5 and it's got great corners and all the subs, I'd probably buy it and sub it
You got to
back
remember.
to
Here's the
PSA.
thing. I always laugh a little bit with Beckett. We all know it gives you the 4 subgrades. All right. So if my 4 subgrades to me, and I'm pretty picky, are a 10, I should get 10, 10, 10, 10. I'm looking for corners, edges, surface. They only grade 4 things.
I'm not going to argue with that, but for me, I'm looking at, first of all, I don't always sell at the top end of the price. I'm just looking to get out. I'm not looking to sell my PSA 10 for the most.
I know. It's just, I know these cards when they come out of the pack, especially with Upper Deck, they have a pretty decent quality control, and I haven't seen anybody complaining about it. So these cards are probably, I'm going to say there's probably a fair amount of 10s that pop out of this, and they made a lot of it. So it's going to be a high numbered card for value, but a lot of people want this card. I mean, a lot of people want this card.
So let me ask you, when you go to a Walmart and Target both have these, right?
Yep.
Correct. When you go there, do you buy them all, or do you buy one box? Or
if I'm there by myself, I buy them all. If I'm there by myself, I buy them all. If I'm there with somebody else or other people, whoever was there first, we go 1, 2, 3, 4. The next person, second box, 2, 3, 4, that type of thing. Sometimes,
but this is a good product.
Boxes. Yeah, if there's 5 boxes and there's 4 people in line, I'm getting 2. I'm first. If I'm first, if I'm not first, I don't expect to get 2. But if the guy in front is trying to take all 5, there's going to be a little bit of a discussion with the manager there. It's going to be real quick.
Let me
solve.
What are they only in Blaster and 10? And there's a mega box, right? There's 3 forms. Are there any other packs? I don't know if there's
a mega box because I haven't seen a mega box yet. That I've
Pack
seen.
Pack Attack Jackpot.
Any fat packs or anything else. So I don't know the configuration of all the different versions of the thing there. Now, from what I also know, they don't do too many exclusives to retail like Panini or Topps does. I don't know about this year. I didn't dive super deep into it. I just know I've seen a lot of different Bedards already. And like people are like, I hit a Bedard. I'm like, well, it's not a young gun. It's like a subset in there, and it's an insert, but it's not a hard insert to hit. So, but even those are selling $1,500 for just a crap insert, which at the end of the day is probably going to be about $10.
See,
right now,
I'm slabbing.
You move it. You move it. So,
see, if I get it, I'm slabbing it off. I would.
You are. I mean, that's what everybody's going to do. The first person that can get a 10 online, I don't know what the multiplier is going to be if the card sells for 1,000 raw, and you can pull out a PSA 10. What $4,000? Maybe I don't know.
I don't know. I tell you what, man, I'm just excited because it's a fun. My only fear about this product is the only one I'm chasing is Connor. I don't know any other athletes or sports. Like what other teams?
For the Devils is a very good rookie as well. So it's one of those sets too that like Brady's rookie year. Mm-hmm. If you like anybody else in the set, you can't even go buy product to open if you wanted to because of how expensive it is because of Brady. So it makes all the other cards worth more. So if Bedard, even if you go back, try to buy a Connor McDavid's rookie year, Sidney Crosby with Maltaz Ovechkin, the price is through the roof. Anything that falls within that even is decent is even worth more because it's harder to get into. It's just like a trickle effect.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm excited. We got a special guest. Before I bring a guest on, I want to remind everybody, if you're following my channel or following Mike's Ham channel, you should be following Flipping Steve. He is running the contest for the National this year. I keep trying to remember to talk about that and shout it out, but definitely follow his content. He's doing some great videos, and he always does he does one of the best jobs of selecting a winner, because it's not like he just picks Joe out of a random and you're like, oh, that was fixed. He has a really good trivia contest. It's fun. It's awesome. I highly recommend everybody get involved in that and check it out. With that being said, we've got Flipping Steve here tonight, so I'm super excited to add him.
Oh, there's Steve. You dual camera.
What's up?
Doing well, man. Thank you for joining.
Hey, just doing the daily stuff, so I have to show that I'm going live with you guys. So it'll be in the next video.
So Steve, do you have an opinion on the Bedard rookie and being released and its high price? Like if you pulled one of those, let's say you went to your store, bought a blaster just for the hell of it, pull a Bedard. Are you selling raw or are you grading?
Are you talking about with hockey?
Yeah, the Bedard.
Yeah. So I don't even know the value on that card. I know it's the chase.
Right now they're selling for $1,000 raw.
Oh wow, really? So what are I would research into it because I got to see what they're grading out at. I got to see what they're.
Well, today was release day.
Today was release day, so nobody has a grade yet.
This is what's cool about this conversation, because Mike and I are early adopters to this. Like you and I we want to hunt. We want to get this now. Steve's the guy's going to wait for the singles, hit the line. He's going to wait for a few PSA 10s to pop. He's going to make some angles. This is the better way to go. I'm not going to argue with you. In fact, that's why logically I've been thinking maybe I should buy a few singles from now and then.
I mean, you would have to grade it because this card is probably only going to decrease passively over time, regardless of his performance or anything like that. Just because it's brand new, like when anything hits the market, it's like boom, it's crazy. And then as new products hit or just people kind of tire on it a little bit, the stuff just naturally goes down in price. So you would have to grade it in order to retain the pack fresh value on it. And you would, of course, a 10 is going to get you the premium, and you're just hoping that a 9 makes you a little bit of money. That's why I would say definitely, research. I always research into a card before I grade it if it's possible to do so, because I don't want my 9s to be worth less than a raw card, because then it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So unless I'm taking a really big shot at a 10.
Yeah.
So. And I don't think they would be. You correct me if I'm wrong. I know none of us here, I think, are hockey experts, but my understanding is that if you were to compare this to McDavid's, right, or I guess Crosby, those PSA 10s are in the multiple thousands, 5,000 plus.
Completely different group of people because of the way the hobby is now.
Yep.
That rush is completely different. Because I remember when Sidney Crosby came out, I didn't hear anything about Alex Ovechkin. All right, I did chase Crosby. I used to have the SPX pre-rookie of it, and for the longest time, 10 years in, the card never moved in value. So I ended up just moving off of it because whatever. It still hasn't gone up completely crazy since I moved off of it 5-6 years ago. But this is different because like he's that next guy, and he's this different type of exciting player that's like 1,000% offense. Now his defensive skill is okay. He's like kind of like that little poke checky guy, but he's kind of a small guy. He's 5'10", 185. So everybody's like, oh, he's not going to be able to survive. But Martin St. Louis was smaller than him, and he survived just fine. You're talking about a kid who's only 18 years old. So give him time to develop. He already has all the skills. He's already doing stuff that people are like, oh, crap, that's crazy. I've never seen somebody do that. His physical skill, if you go and just let's watch highlights for the last week since he's been back. When he's kicking the puck, when he's not even looking at it, he's doing all this stuff. You're just like, how do you defend that? You can't. He's better than you. So it's kind of that system.
Oh, and on the grading aspect, when you're grading new product or brand new product, you have to take into account your grading fees, because you're going to want to rush it. You're not going to want to go into, what are we talking about, bulk order, and get your card back in, maybe 3 months or even 2 months. By that time, a lot of hype is going to have died down. You're going to want to be first to market with it, which is going to be, your walkthrough or your 7-day prices to get the card back quickly. Because if you're waiting, 2 months to get it back, then what's the use anyway? If you're trying to capitalize on that hype of the card in the moment. Yeah, for modern stuff, you kind of do. I mean, I have sent stuff to SGC and BGS for me are very specific, or very card specific. I don't just say, hey, I'm going to send a bulk order to SGC, or I'm going to send a bulk order to BGS, or even CGC, even though I like their slabs. There's just not a lot of respect for them on the secondary market. And when you're flipping cards, it's all about the secondary market. If you're collecting, it doesn't make a difference. And if your cards are very niche, say the pop culture stuff that I graded out, if you don't have slab competition, it doesn't matter. That's the thing that I talk about a lot that a lot of people don't talk about is slab competition. You talk about selling cards in competition on, say you have a base Luka PSA 10 and everybody has those on eBay. You have basic seller competition because that's just a card. There's a lot of them. But when you're talking about slab competition, you're talking about cards that you just don't find graded in any slab. So when people see it in an SGC slab or a BGS slab, they're willing to pay a premium because they don't have the PSA. They don't have an option to get it in a PSA slab.
Yeah.
So that's the cards that you kind of look at and you target there.
Yeah. Ziggy, so what are you going to do with your Wemby? Is it gradable in your opinion?
Absolutely, dude. Well, first of all, let me tell you this.
Well, I mean, you still have it. Steve, I don't know if you saw the Wemby he hit.
I've seen someone on Instagram that he's I've seen someone on Instagram that he's
it's a better picture on Instagram.
Yeah, I saw it on Instagram.
What are the odds on that?
Well, I don't know because this is a game box hit, so it's not numbered. Now, last year's game boxes in the Bancheros, it looks like about 200 total were graded for Banchero of the Black Icons, which in my opinion is an extremely low number. I thought there'd be close to 1,000 or more of those. It's still a very short printed card. But again, my first thought is I grade everything and I'll grade some things twice. Like I do believe that it's all magic. I don't believe it has anything to do with centering or corners or any of that crap. I think you send it in and you get your grade you deserve, and you send it in again until you get your grade you deserve, or you sell it if you want to, or you keep going back. That's just my opinion. I also want to make a quick comment on the Bedard this year. Keep an eye out, guys. This is the first year I believe that they have as many numbered. Like there's different numbered variations. There's a 1 of 1, so that is something to keep your eye out as well. Like for example, there might be other 1 of 1s of other players that are great chases in this product, right? Like all the vets. I think this will be the first year that there's a Series 2 vet Ovechkin 1 of 1. Am I wrong on that, or was there a 1 of 1?
I don't know if they 1 of 1 every card, or they only 1 of 1 Young Guns.
I thought it was every card, and I should check the checklist.
Because I know the card is a different card. It's not the same standard card. It's a different card. It's got a different image on it. So it's literally a 1 of 1, as that's the only card with that image. Which I think a 1 of 1 should always be that way. It shouldn't be the same card with the same image. It should be its own identifiable card outside of just color. It should have a different image.
I'll try to look it up. I'm not sure. Checklists have been terrible. Let me see. Steve, can you answer this question? Are you going to be at the Philly show before I?
No, I'm not going to be able to.
Anybody you know?
Hey, Shane.
Do you guys have a good checklist? Do you guys have a good checklist place? I'll tell you, that's another thing. It sucked is finding a checklist. Checklists are hard to find right now.
Cardboard Connections, where I go, I think the Upper Deck one's out.
Well, the Cardboard Connection one is not updated. They still don't have the Prism up there. And then, like I said, I was looking for something else yesterday.
Panini hasn't released it yet because they don't know what cards are in it yet.
No, because I found Panini Prism. Like I sent you the link for the Monopoly, and that's on some checklist.
Yeah, I know,
by the way, I can't open that on my work laptop because all sorts of spam blockers come out telling me it's a bad website for like porn, or I don't know. The Chinese are using the website.
Don't you run the firewall there? Just take it down.
No, so I can only check the checklist on my phone. But my point, checklists are terrible. We're not getting good information, in my opinion. So it's kind of hard to know.
But they're also Easter egging a lot of stuff in a lot of these companies now as well. Upper Deck's known for Easter eggs. So I'm still waiting for a card to pop on a Bedard, and nobody knows what it is, because they will deliberately do that. They do that now. They do that. Topps does that. Panini does it unknowingly. But the other two do it completely on purpose, like all the time. And there's just like a happy, hey, look at this thing. There's no odds on it on a pack. It doesn't mention it. You have no idea how many are going to be made. And it's super interesting because you won't see a lot of them. It's just one of those things that they do. It is fun. I know we always bitch about, I want to know the odds or how many, but that's part of the fun of it. You don't know. You can just look based on how many have been listed, sold, or graded, and you go from there. That's it.
Which I will say, there's a great website I found, Chasing Majors. This guy's doing a checklist, but he breaks down the print runs and he does it really well on top. He even says Panini's a harder product because they don't have all the information. But what's great is he can show you where there are certain lower printed products that aren't numbered, right? Which again is great for anybody who's in breaks or chasing. Like I think these purples, although they're in all these boxes, I think these are replacing last year's teals. And the teals really weren't that highly printed. I think they're in the hundreds as well as far as a pop count, as far as high numbers. So let's say there's 1,000 of these, maybe 2,000. These are still less than your silver prisms are in the hobby product. So there's just
like Steve, you can probably speak to this because you've been chasing case hits. You've probably also noticed certain case hits truly feel like a case hit, where other ones feel like there's 3 every case.
The thing that I've been applying is case hit. Okay, so it's not numbered. You really don't know what it is. And none of us know how many cases are being printed by the manufacturer. Yeah. So case hit, the rarity of a case hit is all relative to the amount of cases made. Right? If you're making tons and tons and tons and tons of cases, and say you have a 20 card checklist of a case hit. Now, some case hits are parallels. Yeah, they're just parallels. But I'm talking about on the inserts. Then again, the more and more cases that are manufactured, the more and more case hits are going to be produced, the less and less rare they're going to become. One number that I've compared, and I've compared this because I had skin. I had a lot of skin in the game on this player, and that was Kyler Murray. Going back to the 2019 downtown of him in a PSA 10, there's 24. Okay, 24 in the pop since 2019. So we're in 2024 now. 2023 Prism and products have hit. If you go into 2021, which is just 2 years after that with Trevor Lawrence, I think there's over close to 300 PSA 10s.
Yeah.
So Trevor Lawrence, downtown rookie, over 300 PSA 10s. Kyler Murray, downtown rookie, 24. I don't think that has anything to do with quality control. I think that has to do with rarity.
Yeah.
And you're talking about the number one quarterback, respectively, from their draft classes. So it's not like we're comparing apples and oranges when it comes to players. We're talking about the most popular player in that draft class. So they're going to be sent in, they're going to be submitted. And now if you just go on eBay and you type in Bryce Young downtown, CJ Stroud downtown, Anthony Richardson, these hot young quarterbacks on the downtowns, they're flooded. They're just sitting there, buy it now for 300. And the next guy has to list his for 275. And then if the other guy wants to sell his, he's got to sell it for 250. And these are raw. And it tells me that, man, these downtowns are mass produced because they're making a hell of a lot more cases than they were in 2019. They're spreading them out in a lot more products. They're not just making them exclusive to a couple products. I mean, you can get them in probably 5 or 6 different products. You can probably pull like either downtowns or kabooms out of these days, as opposed to being in like one product. And what it's done with for me is I'm just looking for case hits out of the mid to upper tier products that they don't make as many cases of them or manufacture as many cases because of the cost of it. So if you look at products like Panini One, that's an expensive product.
Yeah,
they're not going to make as many cases of Panini One as they are Don Russ, right? Or Absolute. And your Absolute and your Prestige and stuff, there's lower end products. Your kabooms are coming out of that, out of Don Russ and out of Optic, which are 2 products that are going to be printed into the ground, is where your case hit downtowns are coming from. Okay. But if you look at an insert like Panini Surge, the One Surge that come out of the Panini One, look up the pop reports on those. Type in Panini One Surge in the eBay search and tell me how many total case hits of everybody across the entire checklist that you actually find. It might be 10, might be 10 to 15. As opposed to finding 100 of just a single player out of some of the other more popular case hits that have been adopted as the hobby darling case hits, because they're basing their data on when the downtowns and kabooms and stuff were originally made. Yeah. And that's when they had more rarity. So
do you feel the downtown and kaboom is starting to be a little outplayed?
Well, and the other thing is that, they put them out every single year. So at what point, I mean, do you want to get the downtown of your favorite player every single year? Maybe if you're a super collector, does it revert into a thing of first downtown or downtown rookie, right? Is 2019?
Yeah, my issue I've had
or whatever
is that they're not being diverse with the players anymore. It's always a Mahomes. I understand you want your key guys, but like for instance, Tampa Bay, obviously when Brady was here, it was Brady every year. But like I'd like a Mike Evans. I'd like a Chris Godwin. I'd like to see a Mike Allstott. Where's the Baker Mayfield? I want options too. But they're not giving me any options for it.
Well, if you look into 2018, and in 2018, Baker Mayfield would have a rookie kaboom in that. And again, check the print. You can't check the print runs, but you can look at pop reports and you can be like, how many Baker Mayfield 2018 kabooms are floating around on eBay in comparison to CJ Stroud, right? They're just not going to find it.
So one thing you've been saying, and again, I've brought this up, we really need, and I'm surprised there's no market for this. We need a data tool that's diving into just those metrics on short prints and trends, right? I don't need to know what the last sale is. I need to know, for example, in Monopoly, how many running man on average were graded. Once I know how many there were, there's up to 300 for one player. Or one player had 9. That gives me an average. All the thing with all these short prints as well, with the kabooms, the downtowns. How many downtowns on average did a player have? The worst player only had 15 graded. Well, that's probably because a lot of people aren't grading him. But the best player has 1,000, so I can estimate what those print runs are. Like you said, you have to mine that data right now. You have to go out there and research that and kind of figure it out yourself, and you find those trends. That should be there. And the reason it's not is I'm sure other people are already doing this. Right, because I mean that's how I'm making some of my decisions on what I'm keeping, what I'm not keeping. I don't know baseball enough, but you can do the same thing with baseball and figuring out how many of these short prints there are, and how valuable they are. But those spotlights I did last year, the Bowman spotlights, would love to know what the average print runs are. Those are
like Topps, for instance. You can get a rough estimate on how much product they made. I mean, based on odds and what's available.
Better data.
Well, what you do is you find the insert that goes all the way down to the lowest version of retail. All right. And then that number right there gives you an idea of how far you can go backwards with it. Scotty B usually does a really good deep dive into that for the most part to give you a rough estimate. And he's probably within 10%, to be honest with you. I've done it before in the past with sets that they came out with. Those were a little bit easier to deal with because they were target release only. But, you know, I don't think we'll ever have a data tool like you're looking for, because too many things are broken in too many places now worldwide. You're never going to get the data that you want, probably within even a 30% range. I think like Steve or anybody does, you look at pop reports. Unfortunately, you have to wait. You either have to speculate or you have to wait. That's the only two ways to really get that data at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, you can look at eBay listings also.
Here's something you should be getting that, again, I don't know why we're not doing this, is as cards pop up with serial numbers, those serial numbers should hit the big boards, and you should know. Now, again, gold number to 10, you might see it's been graded 15 times, but you should know the 6 is out, the 7's out, the 8's out. Like some board should light up, and you should know what's in play. Like this is a casino, guys.
I do that for cards.
Modern
I like that. Like with Prism Football, with the couple Buccaneer rookies, I've already seen all 1-of-1s for Cansey, 2 of the 3 1-of-1s for Diaby. I've seen almost all the 10s for Cansey and half the 10s for Diaby. So I know it, and I have the numbers written down. So I know.
How did you find them?
They're on eBay.
Okay, so it's sales data.
That's the only place people can sell stuff like that. I mean, the only Cansey I saw that was the Black Shimmer auto. That was actually at the Atlanta Card Show when we were there for Culture Collision, and he was way over the last sale of the other black, and he had the lesser version. So I was like, I can't come to this number. I can't come to $600 for this defensive player 1-of-1. I'm sorry, I can't do it. It's a $300 card.
You know what? You just gave me a great, like, if eBay's listening, what he just said should be an eBay commercial. Like when you pull this obscure, what the hell, 1-of-1, eBay truly is the only market you can sell it in. Go list that thing on ComC. You're not going to get anything for it. You know, go put it in some isolated marketplace.
1-of-1 Prism off of Facebook Marketplace because a guy pulled it in a break. He didn't want it. It was a Vita Vea. I shot him an offer because he had put a number up. He accepted my offer. We did the trade. I sent him money. He sent me the card. I got the card cheaper than what I'm going to be able to sell it for if I want to. And I basically bought it to resell here in Tampa just because I know that market is literally right here.
Yeah.
So it's a better advantage for me. Or at least I'll trade it into something else.
Let me share a quick story.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me quickly share a story. And Steve, I want your comment on this. So I hit that 1-of-1 Josh Downs out of the Black Shimmer Prism Football in a break. And let me give you a short story on this. A friend of mine who I've been in breaks with before, so we're kind of like break buddies. When he sees a break, lets me know. I can buy the teams I want. I reserve his teams. We're just friends through breaks. So he reaches out to me. He goes, dude, you got to sell that card to me, man. I'm a huge fan. And I'm first kind of like, I don't really want to sell it. I'm going to grade it, and then I'll sell it all later. And then he comes back to me and shows me he has like 20 of the freaking cards in the rainbow, right? And I'm like, oh, damn it. Okay. He's really a fan. This guy really likes him. So he gives me an offer, a good offer. And I didn't even care. I was like, sure, dude. I sold him the card. Now, I'll let you guess what I sold the card to him later on. I'm not going to give you the exact number, but I'll give you kind of a range. I sell the card to him, and I'm super, I'm happy, whatever. Ship the card to him. He's super excited to get it. So the other day, he sends me some messages. Dude, I got to talk to you immediately. I'm like, what's up? So I call him. He's like, listen, I just want to let you know, I feel like I took advantage of you on that card. I'm like, why? He goes, well, the other 1-of-1 sold for apparently $3,500. And it went fast or something like that. I'm like, really? He goes, yeah, so you probably should have got a little bit more money. I'm like, dude, I really don't care. He goes, you sure? I said, you're a super fan. He goes, well, actually, I think I'm going to sell them all. I'm like, really? He goes, well, not right away. I'm going to wait. But when I do, dude, I'm going to pay you back. I'm going to give. So we basically talked out this deal. So when he sells it, he's going to give me back some money. So long story is I hit a card that really, I have no idea the value of it. It's a 1-of-1, right? I know that if I want to sell it, the best place to do it is on eBay. But you get intercepted by a friend. You go ahead and sell it to him. And I'm very thankful that he just circles back and says, look, dude, when I do sell this, I'm going to give you back some money. I thought it was just an applicable story at the time. But again, I agree with you. You can only sell if there's 1-of-1s on eBay.
Oh, yeah. I've been burned. Well, I wouldn't say burned, but I've been talked into deals before where people were like, hey, it's for my PC. I really need it or I really want it. And then I will find it for sale on their like eBay listings or something like that. That happened with a Larry Bird autograph a couple of years ago at a Philly show at a trade night. where I give a really good deal on it. It was a teenager, it was a younger gentleman. And I was like, Larry Bird's my PC. I really don't want to get rid of it. He was like, oh, but I love Larry Bird. I've never had an autograph of his. So I almost traded them to Larry Bird at cost.
Yep.
And then about a month later, as I'm surfing eBay looking for Larry Bird autographs, I see one come up in a PSA case listing in Pennsylvania. Trade night was in Philadelphia. And I'm like, man, that's the one I just sold at the trade night about a month ago. I might be able to get that back. And I look, and the name on the name of the seller, or no, it was definitely my card because it was the same serial number. That's how I could tell. It was the same serial number. It was the same serial number, and I assumed maybe he moved it to somebody else, but I assumed it was him coming from Pennsylvania. But he could have moved it to anybody around him. But fact is that he moved it to somebody, or he was planning on moving it himself after he graded it after getting it from me. I remember that Josh Downs card because I hit you up for it because I have a viewer that I've kind of become friends with because he actually, we actually used to communicate before I was even on YouTube when I had the Facebook page, going back to the whole time when I was in a different Facebook group and all that. And he's a big time Colts. He's a Colts super collector. So sometimes if I get really rare Peyton Mannings, I give him first look at him and things like that. So that was kind of like the only reason I was reaching out to you for that. Now, it wasn't for me. I was going to get it and move it. But and I don't even know how to value something like that.
And I would have probably sold it to you had I not sold to the other person. But I understand that story. I've definitely done it too. I've sold to people. I sold the card where a guy resold it as well. And later on, he told me he needed me the money. And I just said to him, I just wish you would have come back to me first and letting me buy the card back versus you just kind of take, I don't know. I understand what you meant.
But it's like once you get burned or feel like something like that happens to you a couple times, then like say for instance, that guy was like, shows you that he has the entire Josh Downs rainbow and he needs yours to complete it. Well, the price just went up.
Yeah.
Right. That just backfired on you. Okay. You're trying to use the fact that you should give me a deal because I'm a fan. Well, maybe I should charge you more because you really, really need it even more than I thought that you did. Right. So,
yeah. Well, the funny thing was
just a piece to the puzzle.
I know this guy very well. We're good friends. I also know how much he spent on other cards where he's bought other cards. I'm like, well, honestly, I would never pay that much, but if you feel it's a good price, go for it. And I love that too. People ask me my opinion of buying cards. Like, would you pay this much? And personally, I just tell you, I don't buy a lot of singles. I see a lot of them get sold, right? But I'm like, I don't know. I'd spend that much. Like, it's crazy to me how much people pay for LeBron's. I mean, we're in his 20th year. And those 101s are basically $1,000 bills or something like that every time one of those are pulled.
Right.
Or more.
The thing that gets tough for me, I don't know if it ever happens with you guys, is doing content, especially the way I've ramped my content up. And my content is strictly what I do. I don't really do news stories. I might talk about a news story in a live stream, but I don't make a video out of it. I don't put down other content creators. I don't make Jeff Wilson videos. I just do Flipping Steve videos, right? And but that involves a lot of my costs. It involves a lot of my margins. It involves a lot of what I'm looking to obtain. And it also involves a lot of what I'm selling, because it's just what I'm doing on an everyday basis. What that tends to create for me sometimes is people want to do deals with me on Instagram, but they know what I'm in for. So I lose my negotiating leverage as far as my cost. Sometimes by no purpose, it just happens. People can say they're not influencers, but everybody has some sort of influence, regardless of how many views or subscriber count that they have. If I talk about something that I like, I'm not going to say that a lot of my viewers are followers, but what I am going to say is they may agree with a lot of my opinions, and then it's going to cause maybe a buzz around a certain card, a certain type of card, or even a player just passively by no intentional pump. I'm aware that that type of stuff just will happen. It's unavoidable. And then selling, well, it goes back to selling. Sometimes you feel like somebody who is a loyal viewer to you, you want them to have a card, you almost will give them a better deal than you would to a stranger. So you lose the leverage on a lot of cards of what you're into something for. Some stuff that you're trying to buy, all of a sudden you can't buy it anymore because they dry all up on eBay, and then you're like, well, damn, people must have saw me buying them and started buying them, and then then you want to give people deals because you don't want people to be like, oh, Steve is so tough to deal with. Steve, he's high on his stuff. I got called out on Veriswap the other day because somebody said I had my cards overvalued. And that's something that I complain about all the time. It's an ongoing joke. The whole Veriswap thing is an ongoing joke on my channel. But my stuff's rare. So when I buy something for $400 and there's not another listing on eBay and mine is the only sale in the past 3 months, if I want to price it at $550 because I'll take $475 to $500 for it because that's my margin, that's not overpriced. That's establishing a new market on a rare card that hardly ever sells. But people look at the last comp. I have a video that drops tomorrow because I did the Kyler Murray flip is complete.
Yeah.
Right. Michael Ham knows about it because we talk times a week over the phone. But the Kyler Murray flip is complete, and people are going to see my plan. I didn't stray from my plan, my cost, my profit, what I have remaining, and just my whole thought process that went into buying and selling when I did, and how hard it was actually at one time to establish comps because people wanted to comp his stuff from December. And his market around the second or third week of February has really, really gone up because of the draft hype. But his certain cards haven't sold. So people are like, oh, well, this card sold for $250 in December. I'm like, yeah, but, okay, I'll give you an example of a card. A PSA 10 Contenders Red Optic Auto in December sold for $290. PSA 9s are doing $250 all day now. But somebody wants to comp the PSA 10 at $290 because the last PSA 10 that sold was in December. But they don't want to use the PSA 9 comps that are going for $250 now and say, okay, well, this should be like 3x or 2.5x of a PSA 9. Because there's still a visible sale from December. That's the one that they want to use. And I'm like, that doesn't make any damn sense at all. So I had to establish my own. I had 3 of the same card. I had to let one run at eBay and establish a market.
I was going to say,
I think
I have
part of it
noticed
too is like nobody ever wants to set a new comp. Like,
right.
I don't understand that because cards go up.
I don't
have to go up somehow. So somebody has to set new comps.
A lot of people regret that they weren't early and now they're kind of late to the game, but they still want early prices. It's like, oh man, I wish I would have bought his cards 3 weeks ago, but well, it's 3 weeks later. So it's too bad.
So I was going to say, I definitely have no problem setting comps. A lot of times when I have 10 cards that are in the same grade, PSA 10s, I'm happy to set the comp because then I know the other cards are going to come underneath that, right? So, and those are looking at $60 to $80 cards. I'm okay with auctioning those. I do that all the time. It's different with those rare cards. You don't want to be the comp setter with the rare card. I would say, Steve, what I love about your video, you have been giving out a lot of great tips. The tip you gave about how the comps don't show up on 130 point for a couple of days. I forget the platform that you use.
PWCC
was a great tip. The other, the other example where you use, I think Veriswap. I've been critical of Veriswap. I just don't see like why I'd want to use it, but you've actually made me think about using it. And I totally understand the pricing because the pricing is no different than eBay. I price shit on eBay at $1,500. It's comping for $500 just so I have it there and I can later adjust it down if I want to, or I can accept an offer, or I can auction it. It's kind of inventory management.
Just went live.
Yeah, Veriswap. Where the Veriswap has been fun.
Walmart, tins, blasters, and megas.
And you can use Veriswap to gauge what is popular. There's a lot of people that are using Veriswap are people that are really into the flipping demographic, and you can see what they're wanting.
Sold out.
What's moving.
Yeah, tins just sold out.
I would say one thing I've liked, Steve.
Blaster sold out.
Steve, you've always done a really job of using what you talk about. Like I know you're not sponsored by ComC, but I think you did a great job using that. I think you should be sponsored by Veriswap because I'm critical of them and I'm likely to use them. Are they integrated with Mascot? Do you know?
I'm not sure.
Are you using Mascot by any chance?
I'm not. I've heard of it. I just haven't looked into it. I know. I guess it lists all your cards for you across multiple platforms or something.
Yeah.
I just haven't.
It's just, here's what I like about it. All you do is you go to the website, you just put in your freaking ID from your PSA card, and it pulls everything up for you, right? Your picture's there, your information's there, so you can make your listing, and you can put the listing on, like you said, all your. It's so easy. And what I like is I list all my stuff there. I can also go to my inventory, I can search, how many Wimbies do I have? Not that I have those graded yet, but how many Palos do I have? How many PSA 9s do I have? How many PSA 10s? And then I can have one listed, and then I send one to DC 87 to auction, and then maybe I pull the buy it now down because the auctions are going for 50, so I pull the buy it now. I love the tool, man, and it amazes me how people don't use it. But let me ask, do you ever get into breaks? Are you into? I assume you're not a person that gets into breaks at all. And I also want to ask you your opinion, because you manage gambling, like you work at a casino, so you see degenerates like myself all the time. But you have no interest in that side of the gambling side of the hobby, though, right? You don't like opening wax and you don't like breaking, correct?
I have been in a couple breaks, and it's been a couple years. Like during the height of the pandemic, I might have been in a break. And my first break, okay, so I'm going to relate this to the casino, actually. My very first break I was ever in, it may have been my only break. It was my only real break. I may have bought into like a $20 Facebook break with friends or something, but it was my only. And I got position number 2 or 3. It was 2019. So it was the Zion 1920 Prism. So it was the Zion. It was multiple products, actually. It was a box of Prism Hobby, a box of Optic Hobby. There was a couple other things. And so it was a multiple product break. And I drew number 3, and I chose the Lakers because Zion and because Memphis and like and New Orleans went first and second, right? So it was a random break. Everybody paid the same price. You just didn't know what team you were going to get. It wasn't like a pick your own team like I've seen where it costs more money for a certain team. Mm-hmm. And I got the Lakers, and I did really good. Like I got LeBron color out of the Prism. I got Anthony Davis orange out of like 99 out of the Optic. And remember at the time, mind you, a first year LeBron Prism color and a first year Anthony Davis in his Lakers uniform Optic numbered were big cards. Now those cards are not necessarily big cards now, but you remember the height of the pandemic I'm talking about. Oh, yeah. So that was a big break for me. And I was like, holy crap, I'll never do this good in a break again. So I'll never do this good in a break again. And if I think that I'm going to do this good in a break again, I'll buy into breaks constantly and I'll lose money. And I relate that to the casino because if people win their first night in the casino, most of the time they're hooked. They come back.
You're pretty lucky. I don't know. I would try my luck.
I'm just saying they come back and then they lose and they lose and they lose. I have a story about a guy was in the casino on his 21st birthday playing dice. And he won in about 20 minutes. He won over $30,000. Now, I was called to the casino floor for this because this is legitimate money. So I've got to come down and I'm like, who is this guy? Was he, is something shady here? What's going on? I got to look into it. There's a lot of money going out on the casino's end in 20 minutes. And they're like, he's just chunking money in the field and he can't miss. And that's what was happening. The field is just a basic bet. In fact, it's the worst bet on a dice table, but it advertises so well that everybody thinks it's good. Well, this guy fell into the trap of thinking it was good and not knowing anything about about a dice table. However, from a casino aspect, it backfired because the dice were just hitting. They were just hitting for straight 20 minutes, field numbers. And he made that much money. And I looked at the guy and I said, hey, man, I said, you're 21. I bet you can use this money. I said, I would take it and go to the cage, which is to cash out. I said, I would take this money and run if I were you. And his response to me was, oh, you're just scared I'm going to stand here and win more. I was like, okay, that's fine. You stand here and play as long as you want. I left the casino floor. I got a call about 30 to 40 minutes later. They were like, he's giving it all back, and now he's 7,000 in the hole. So, I'm like, okay, he was up 30 grand. He could have walked out and really made a difference. Instead, he lost it all back, and now he's down 7 grand and trying to grind it back, and he just couldn't. He got that itch, and a lot of times when I see people win for the first time, they become very, very frequent repeat customers, and they lose over the long haul. I hate to see it when it happens to younger players and younger kids. I call them kids. I call 21-year-olds kids these days.
Oh yeah, that's where we're all at.
My daughter's 23. So as a manager, it's good, but I'll tell them. I'll be like, look, I've been in this business for a long time. At least leave this casino tonight and buy yourself something nice. And if you want to come back and lose that money back or half of that money back, that's fine. But if you're winning 10,000, go take 5,000 of this and do something useful with it for yourself. If you want to lose the rest of it back, that's fine. Great for the casino. But I will tell them that. But most of the time they think I'm telling them that because they're winning and I don't want them to win. So I could say it's reverse psychology because I know at that point I got them, they're going to stay, but I really try to do the right thing.
I was going to ask you that. Did they ever send you down as like the cooler? Guys, hot. Someone said Steve down.
No, I mean, I like every manager in the casino business likes to think that they're the cooler. Like if I walk up to a hot game, like a hot dice table that's in the middle of a 40-minute roll, and I walk up and the next roll or one of the next two rolls is 7, I'll look at them and be like, hey, man, why didn't you guys call me early? Why didn't you call me earlier? When I walk in the pit, we get 7s. But it's just an ego. It's just a funny thing that we do.
So let me ask you this. As I got a strategy to a game. I want your theories on this because you talked about how you got into a break and you basically went up to the roulette table. You bet on 17 and you hit 17, right? I mean, you got the 35 payout or whatever it is. I was told the best odds in any of the table games is to go into roulette and you have the 3 rows of 12 numbers, 1 through 12, 13 through whatever, right? And they pay 2 to 3. You pick 2 of those rows. So you're covering 24 of the 38 numbers because you have 36 plus the green and double green. You're following me? So that is supposed to give you the best odds. I think it's 60-something% of payout on every spin. You just pay that mathematically. You sit there and you play that all night long. 60% chance you will win on the odds. The problem is most people get impatient. They see something hit, they see black or green, and, green's due or red's due, and they make these side bets, and that's what pulls them away from winning. Do you believe that at all? Have you ever seen people run a strategy like that in any of the games, or is that just complete myth?
It's myth. So when I broke into the casino business, the gentleman that trained me and I guess was the first person that I had any casino interaction with, he said he looked at, he was an old guy from Atlantic City. He was Italian. It was almost like right out of a movie. I was green and completely green in the casino. And he's like, you're going to see every strategy walk through that door. You're going to see everybody walk through that door that thinks that they can beat the odds in the casino. He's like, you're going to see it all. And you're going to ask yourself, why are they doing that? He goes, don't do it or your hair will fall out. I had a full head of hair when I started the casino, but he said, your hair will fall out. He goes, just know that none of it works. Sometimes they may win, but the odds of the house will always run them down and they'll lose. The people that win are the people that win quick and leave. If you win quick and leave, you win. If you win quick and stay, you lose it back. If you lose quick and then get on a heater, you might come back and break even. But the only way to win is to win and leave. And I tell people that win and leave, but they're like, no, you just don't want me to win more. But if there was okay, so there's professionals paid to figure out the odds on every single game. What the payout should be, what the house advantage is on everything, what the player, wager should be, and things like that, table limits. It's all a big calculator. And if there was, with a game like roulette that's been around as long as it has been, there's no set way to beat that game, or that game just wouldn't exist. It wouldn't be in the casino if you could beat it regularly. It wouldn't make, it just wouldn't make sense. There's only certain games.
You're not beating it.
Right.
You just have the best odds, 60+%.
Well, the best odds in the casino are pass line odds on a dice table. That's the only.
Why not take the don't pass line? Why not the reverse? Why isn't the don't pass line better odds than the pass line?
Because when you play with the house, you win partial money. Okay, so really quickly, pass line odds give you true dice odds. The house takes no advantage. There's 6 ways to roll a 7, and there's 5 ways to roll a 6. There's 5 ways to roll an 8. So the 8 and the 6, they pay 6 to 5. That's true. That's true odds. There's three ways to roll a 10: 5, 5, 6, 4, 4, 6. Again, there's 6 ways to roll a 7. That's 6 to 3. That's 2 to 1. When you break it down, you get paid double your money for your pass line odds on a 4 or a 10. The house takes no advantage.
Yeah.
If you look in the middle prop box, a 12, a 1 roll bet for a 12 pays 30 to 1. However, there's 36 different dice combinations, which means if you win, you're getting paid $30, not 36 to 1. Right? The house is taking a 6 dice roll advantage on you there, and you don't even know it unless you know the dice probabilities. Now, when you're on the don't side, those numbers reverse. So instead of a 4, if you're betting against the 4 or the 10, now I just told you that when you bet with the 4 or the 10 and it hits, you win double your money.
Yeah.
If you bet against the 4 or the 10, basically you're playing with the house, you win half of your money. So if you put up $50 against the 4 and somebody sevens out, you win 25. You don't win 2 to 1 or even money when you bet with the house. Now, the flat bet on the don't pass is in your favor. The flat bet would just pay you strictly even money. It's on the come out roll. You put it down. You say, hey, this person is not going to pass. They're not going to make their point. The only time that roll is not in your favor is on the come out roll, because a 7 causes that bet to lose. And 7 is the most commonly rolled number on the dice. But once you get over that hump of clearing the 7, and now the player has a point that they have to make, now that even money bet is now in your favor, whether it be 5 to 6 on the 6 and 8, 2 to 3 on the 5 and 9, or 1 to 2 on the 4 and 10. So that's where that would come from. The don't pass line would be in your favor just on the flat bet only. In fact, we want you to take odds at that point, because now you're only winning a portion of what you're putting up. Which means if you bet against the 10 for $50, if you bet against the 10 for $50 and somebody rolls a 10 and you lose that 50, now you have to put up double to even win your money back, because you've just lost $50. Now you have to win 2 $50 bets or one $100 bet just to break even.
So in the comment section on Greg F asking about the opinions on the panel in regards to products like Kurt's Card Care, obviously Mr. Minty's product. I've even seen a newer product that's on the market that's supposed to be better than both of them. I know Steve just spit shines his cards usually. Ziggy, how do you usually clean your cards?
So lately, I've been very lazy. I'm blind, first of all, so I just stick them in top loaders. I send them to a friend of mine who subs them for me, and I do pay him $2 per card to screen, wipe, prep them for grading. And he's just doing, general cleaning. I will say though, my response to this, I have mixed feelings. I probably will be too lazy to ever do it, but I understand why people wax, clean, shine, trim their cards, because they can. It's the number one reason. And I'm even going to say this, I encourage more people to do it, because they're not going to change it or stop it until they can figure it out. And they're not investing in it, right? They just aren't. Yeah. I mean, we could say they're using the mint stuff or whatever, Gemma Mint, whatever. I don't believe that. So my point to this, I'm not using Kurt's Card Care. I don't use Mr. Minty. I'm critical of both of them. But I understand what people do. And I'm not going to knock people who do it. I mean, I know one guy striving for 10s. Okay. I've been friends with Lewis for probably 8 years now. We both chase Bowman together. He's a straight up will tell you, he waxes, helps get cards clean, fix whatever. I know what his name is, Doctor, whatever cards.
Yeah.
That's what he does. He makes a lot of money doing it, man. So I don't know. It's just, that's my opinion of it. It happens. I'm not going to knock it. I wish I could do something about it.
Yeah.
They're not.
There's a couple different approaches to me on this. And actually, I got right before I went live. I don't know if I should talk, but I got slightly pissed off because another content creator put out a video talking about this exact subject. And they started the video with saying, it was Raul. I'm just going to fucking say it. It was Raul. He put out a video and he was like,
Lord Voldemort.
He was like, let's talk about Kurt Card Care. I talk about this stuff because everybody else is scared to. Now, that's bullshit. Nobody's scared to talk about it. Kudos to him if he wants to talk about it. I don't talk about it because I don't want to talk about it. Not because I'm scared.
Fear tactics to get you
I got no relationships with any big companies, no anything. So when he's directing that scared comment, maybe he's directing it towards some of the bigger influencers that want to be in bed with some companies. But, when I'm watching his video and it says everybody else is scared to talk about it, I'm just going to take that he's talking to me too.
Yeah.
And,
fair.
I'm just not talking about it because I'm talking about other stuff. I'm talking about buying and selling and trading cards. My content isn't based around somebody else having to have content in order for me to make content. Right.
Yeah.
I don't need something to happen in the hobby or something to happen with somebody else to be able to make a video. All right. I do what I do. Now, with that being said, when it comes to altering cards, trimming and coloring and things like that, I could never do that with any of the cards that I buy anyway. I think that's a vintage thing. I would be scared to death to touch the stuff. When it comes to microfiber cloths, yes, I removed fingerprints from my cards with microfiber. Some people say you shouldn't even do that, which is completely ridiculous. All right, because you could touch your own card and get a fingerprint on it and then wipe it off. All right, then, if there's scratches on a card, now, I'm a firm believer that sometimes I've used Windex on cards before, like a spray to try to like just wash off funk or dirt or something like that. I don't even know if they were manufacturer defects or if it was just something that got on the card from somebody not taking care of it. I'm not sure. And I have no issue with that either. Trimming and actually altering and stuff, I take big issue with that. Would I ever take a card and drop it in a big container of solution like Kurt's Cart Care does? No, I wouldn't, because I don't have the balls to do that. Right.
Well, let's do it with a cheap chitty card.
Right. I'm just saying I wouldn't drop it in there because
Well, we're all curious.
Right. Well,
we're all curious though, aren't we? Let's be honest.
I see him doing that type of stuff. And even though it's on film, I still have a trouble being like, if it's too good to be true, it's typically too good to be true. Right.
But he's using methods that people that restore old documents and paper documents and things like that, he's using something that's been used for hundreds of years in a special solution. It can just be water. It doesn't have to be that. That's just him pumping his product.
Right. I don't know. I just see I would just see a card that looks like somebody took a key to the back of it and they'll throw it in a solution and bring it out and it'll be like completely new. And to me, that just reminds me.
I mean, I ripped apart these cards. They're paper other than that first layer on the front. Yeah. It's just paper.
It's like those infomercials back in the day of like that DD7 stuff or whatever it was called, where it would clean stains off anything. There would be a big old bowl of like purple stuff, and they would drop a dot of this, and there would be completely clear. And then you order the stuff, and it doesn't work like that.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work like that. So that's my takeaway. That's my personal thought on some of that stuff. I'm like, man, I see it happening on camera, but I don't really think it worked like that. It wouldn't work like that for me.
Well, I mean, Kirk is very open with what he does with cards. He sends them in. No, he's back. He shows the card.
He posts the stuff right on Instagram, so it's not like he's trying to hide it. He's not trying to hide anything.
And people like make a big crybaby deal.
He's trying to, he's trying to sell a product, and he's not hiding anything. He's doing everything.
He's doing very well on camera. But look at what Mr. Minty does. It's really no different. I took cards to him. You had the cards because you had the deal or whatever. But my cards that I took to him, I've graded 3 of those 5, and all 3 of them have 10. And one of them had something on it that I couldn't get off with regular like spray in a microfiber. I couldn't get it off, but he got it off. But it was something from the manufacturer just going through a roller. It wasn't lines. It was literally like a smudge. I couldn't get it off. I wasn't going to apply overpressure either. So I figured let him try it because that's my red Bowman first number to 5 of Janeski Noel. So I was like, oh, that's fantastic at 10 because there's no other 10s of that. There's only 5 of them anyway. But I couldn't get that off. And I had it on eBay showing those images, and nobody would even send me an offer. And I had it priced lower than the other one that was even on there by like $200. I haven't even attempted to relist it now that it's a PSA 10. Right. So it's just like, okay, so it does work because I couldn't get it off with normal means.
Here's the way I think about it on one hand is we pay big money, well, especially people who buy product. I'm not necessarily going to loop myself in there, but you guys buy into brakes, people buy wax. I'm in a day when you have to pay so much money to not only find product, but to pay big amounts of money to get product. Mm-hmm. The main problem is the quality control from the company. If your cards came out of the pack and didn't have stuff on them or didn't have scratches or dimples and things like that, you would be able to look them over yourself. You would be like, I want to get this graded. I'm going to send it in. But you pull a big card fresh out of the pack and it has surface problems.
Yeah. Or it's so far off center, it's not funny.
You paid big money for something. I mean, you can't do anything about centering, but surface problems. I bought a Justin Fields Prism checkered, which is like a case hit, and I got it in the mail, and it has a surface scratch on one side, and it has like 2 surface dimples at the bottom. I can't do anything about them. Did I spray that card with my little cleaner? Yes. Did I dip it in a big bowl of solution to see if the things would come out of it? No. But that card was pack pulled like that, and it's like, that's a case hit. Somebody paid big money for that. They're excited to get it. And then when they get it, it's covered with manufacturer defects.
Yeah.
I mean, the root of the problem is the manufacturers and the defects.
Well, that and the expectation of what a card should be coming out
Well,
of
I'm just saying, people wouldn't have to do this. There wouldn't have to be a card care kit if your cards came out in decent condition, were printed and shipped and packaged, and you got them in decent condition. Ziggy, you're muted.
You're muted, Ziggy.
Muted yourself.
Thank you. So I say one of the I want to comment on that. You're absolutely right about the manufacturer defects. Now I could go a bunch of ways. One thing that irks me about this, okay, is that the local card stores or the middleman do absolutely nothing to help you as a consumer. And what I mean by that, when you get a defective card, right? If I call the breaker, hey, can I get the UPC or the code or whatever? Oh man, I don't think I have that. Or else it's a pain in the ass for them to go get it for you. They will do it sometimes, but you think they would want to help you. Or even better, the local card store should have a relationship and be like, hey, we'll take it in, we'll submit it for you, because they all will offer factory manufacturing defect. You can do that yourself. I've gone through that and it will work. But if you go to a local card store and ask them to do something for you, they don't do anything for you. They'll just tell you to go to the website and submit it. My opinion is,
the box.
But they should help. Like with the fact that
the insert was damaged, and the guy is like, "Let me print you off a receipt. Here's one of the boxes because you're going to need this QR code to send in to prove you purchased a product that this card came out of."
That's nice, but I actually think local card stores should be a point of presence for consumers to take manufacturer defects. Is my point.
Well, most
I think
card
as a
shops
local
have no
card store,
relationship with either of the two brands. So what do they want to do to help you? Because it's not going to help them.
I think what leaves gray area.
But they should. They should.
I just think
if my sneakers are bad, I go back to Foot Locker. I don't know. Just that bothers me on the fact that, I guess my point is we're upset about the manufacturers. That's going to happen. Cards come in damaged. The biggest issue is that most of us are too lazy to go through that process. We don't have the time to waste. We want to flip the card. Like I had this happen with an autograph. What's the guy? Rodriguez. I got his autograph. The card was horribly mangled. I sold the card for cash. I wanted cash. I didn't want to go through the process. My friend submitted it. He got the card replaced. So I'm just saying, I think local card stores could help in that solving that, where they could be the arm for anybody. If you have a defect from a box that you open, bring the box back to a local card store, let them go through the process for you. And that would help on the consumer. And it would also give me a reason to go to my local card store.
But the problem you run into with that is proving that you got that from that store.
Yep.
Unless you
doesn't make a difference. It's just like the rebates. It doesn't make a difference. That's what I'm saying. They should have.
I don't think everybody should have a reputation the same way like that. Everybody doesn't get products.
I'm just saying, if you're price. In the future,
what's interesting.
I'll put it this way: in the future, there's going to be one Fanatics and one local card store.
Well, there's a company
local
now
card store is going to handle all the cards.
If you got a card in a break, you can state that there's a drop down for this card in a break.
Yeah.
You can ask for the breaker's name to submit for a damaged card.
Really, I've never done that.
So say for instance,
now if actual drop down.
But just say for instance, I bought a card off eBay. Say I got a card on eBay, or I got a card in a break, and it was damaged, and I didn't like it. It shouldn't be my LCS's responsibility for me to go in there.
You're right. I see that.
Like, I got this, or be like, I bought this.
Breaker attempt to replace that card for you.
I would claim and be like, hey, I got this out of a wax box in your store. They would have to trust that.
Right.
I mean, they shouldn't be held accountable for a breaker or somebody else who's making the money on the other end.
Yeah.
Good point. I'll admit, maybe then, like you said, have you bought at the store or opened at the store?
Open at the store could be a whole different discussion. Yes.
So on real quick, I have an.
In fact, that's one thing.
So I received a couple cards from eBay. And, I looked at the pictures. The pictures looked fine. But when I got the cards, obviously stuff that you don't see in the pictures wasn't on there. And so at that point, I reached back out to the people. I'm like, hey, you didn't disclose this. I sent them pictures of the damage. One was a print line going down the middle of the card. The other one is an Alligator Mini, and the plastic that it's encased in is all scratched up. But they didn't show any of that. So I'm like, hey, I sent the pictures. You didn't describe this. You said near mint or better. This is not in that condition. I was like, I'm thinking about returning this. What would you like to do in this situation? We both did partial refunds on both cards, which I'm happy with because I'm getting them. I got them cheaper already, and then I got them cheaper even on top of that because they gave decent partial refunds back.
Now, what platform is this?
eBay.
Okay,
eBay.
I was going to say on eBay because I buy a ton of this. This is just today's mail. All right, this is today's mail. This is like 15 cards.
What you got there, Steve? What you got there?
Yeah, so 15 cards in today's mail. I just have them here because I'm getting ready to prep them for grading. That's what I was going to do, but I joined you guys instead. But I don't return cards on eBay. I understand that I basically take the approach of buy at your own risk. I talked about the risks of raw to graded in a recent video, and I have people message me quite a bit on Instagram and say, hey, I got a damaged card on eBay. What should I do? Should I return it? It didn't match this. It didn't match the pictures. It didn't match the description. And I tell them, I'm like, do what you want to do for yourself. Where do you think your justice or your middle ground is going to be found? I said, but for myself, when I go into buying a raw card off eBay, I just go buy at your own risk. I said I just bought a Justin Fields, like I said, case hit. And when I got it, it had scratches and surface dimples. And that was at 200. No, it was 100. I can't remember now. I'm just going to say it was either 150 or 250. I'm going to say it was a $200 raw card.
Yeah.
And I'm just prepared to eat the loss on that. If it grades back a 9, I'll be great. I'll be fine. Maybe the PSA grader's having a good day.
This was the card that has scratches going up and down it.
Right. And that's an Allen and Ginter framed. And those are notorious cards for having scratch frames.
Now, since this is plastic, do you think Turtle Wax would get those lines out?
I don't know, but I have Allen and Ginter autos.
I might as well crack it out of the plastic.
I have Allen and Ginter autos
that's not in the Mini.
But I will tell you that some grading companies / some graders, because I don't know if they're all on the same page when it comes to grading criteria, actually grade the card inside the frame and not the plastic.
That's what they're supposed to do, is grade the card inside the frame. And some do and some don't. But
right.
nobody
So
dictates
it's going to depend. And I don't think PSA actually puts it out there to their graders. Hey, when you're grading framed Allen and Ginter autos, footnote, the card inside the frame. So I think some do one thing and some do the other. I'm just going to say,
have you ever
probably with the turnover rate of employees, it's impossible to train it all the time.
Has anybody ever taken the Mini out and just grade the Mini? Like take it out of the rest of the card and just send the Mini in?
I don't know if that's wise. Most of the time, your serial numbering is on the frame.
I mean, it says everything on the back of it. So,
but I mean, they punch your serial numbering on the frame, and I don't think the Mini auto.
Well, this is on serial number. This is the base version. So
I think all of the the old ones, the original Allen Ginter autos used to be framed, and they were actually called framed, and the frame was actually the parallel. It would be silver frame out of 15, gold frame out of 10. And the serial numbering was on it. And then they had just the original Mini autos. Nowadays, I believe they're all framed. And then the silvers are serial numbered and things like that. So on a CJ Stroud, you're going to find one outside of the frame.
Yeah. And they changed the frame color around it with the inside of the card. Yep, you're right.
So they turn it into a parallel now. And then they also have the red ink, which are always out of 10.
Yep.
The red ink signatures. But yeah, like for me, like real quick again, I'm just always prepared to eat the loss on a raw card because I know that is a risk when I buy a raw card off eBay. So when I
don't buy off eBay at all. I'd rather buy in person.
Yeah. Of course, I get disappointed when a card is damaged, but I take that into account before I even push that buy button or that bid button.
Yeah.
Hey, this is.
Yeah, but if I get a card and it's definitely not as shown, I'm gonna try to get a partial refund for it because they should have disclosed the damage to begin with, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Especially sometimes I ask questions, hey, can I have more pictures? Some people won't send you pictures, so you just got to ignore them and move along.
That's a red flag.
Do you have that? Do you ask that with consigners as well? Like if DC87 selling raw, do you ask them for pictures? Do they send them for you?
I mean,
DC?
I mean, I ask anybody for every picture. I don't care how many it is.
And they
if
will
it's crap,
they will send more. That's cool.
Yeah, I don't know about a consigner, but I will tell you right now, I mentioned this in a different video. Most consigners list their cards in excellent condition to protect themselves from selling cards that aren't necessarily an 8 or better.
Yeah.
So when you look at where, because eBay requires you now on raw cards to put in it's a requirement now to enter a condition. Now, it's not a grade number that you enter, but it is a condition. It's near mint or better, and then like excellent. And you will see a majority of your consigning houses put excellent to protect themselves from that. Now, as a buyer, that could be helpful because you may be buying a gem mint card that's listed at excellent.
Yep.
But then again, you could also be buying an excellent card or a card listed at excellent that is excellent, and you don't want that.
But
So
is
again,
there
I
such
was
an
risk.
I was
card
asking-
either mint or better or no good? That's how it feels.
Yeah, my video
I
that
have,
comes up,
I have sent. I don't sell any more raw cards through eBay because I had too many people drive me crazy with returns, and I don't blame them.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand. I just figure I'm not doing anymore. I only sell graded. I was sending raw cards to DC87 Sports and letting them sell them for me.
that's what
There's
I do.
something I didn't
consign
want to
my
grade
raw
as a low. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can
I was
sign
just
my
wondering
raw
if
cards
they.
because I let them deal with it. They assume the risk as the seller and they list it accordingly as excellent, and they deal with the returns. So, yeah, like you said, it's become a
You can
headache.
get good deals there. You can get good deals there because there's some cards that I would have graded. I just don't have the time, money, or energy to grade them.
Well, yeah,
So I
you sell
send them
some
there.
people.
So-
You sell some people a raw card, and they're like, "Oh, this isn't a 10," and they want to send it back. I said, "Well, it's a nice." Nobody said it was a 10. Nobody knows even what a 10 is these days. A 10 is whatever the grader feels like giving you that day, but necessary evil. But yeah, there was something I was going to say. You were talking about how you would crack PSA 9s earlier to resubmit because you may get a different
Yes.
viewpoint from a different grader.
Yep.
I actually like the strategy. Okay, there's always been a
On
strategy.
certain cards.
Right. There's always been the strategy of buying BGS 9.5s and SGC 10s or SGC 9.5s and things and trying to cross them into the PSA case. But I will say, recently for me, if there's a card that I'm willing to pay a certain price for raw and grade it. So say there's, for instance, there's a card that I'm going to crack out tonight. So if I'm looking at a card and it's raw and I'm like, they want $200 for it. There's also a PSA 9. They want $200 for the PSA 9. If I buy that raw copy and plan on incorporating my $20 grading fee, I know that before I even purchase that, if that card looks gradable, if it looks gradable when I get it, I'm into it for $220 right off the bat. Before if I plan on grading a card, I add it to what I'm going to buy a card for. If I want to be into a card for a certain amount of money, I got to take my grade. If I want to be into a card for $200, then I got to add my grading fee into that, what I want to be into it for. Or I get the card for $200 and then I buy it. Now I'm into it for $220. You get what I'm saying? So I incorporate my grading fee into the price I want to pay for a card if it's a card I intend on getting grading. So there was a card that I have. I was willing to pay $200 raw for this card. However, there was a PSA 9 for $200. And I said to myself, I'm going to buy the PSA 9 and I'm going to crack it out and I'm going to submit it and give it a second shot for a $20 fee because I'm already planning on spending at the end of the day $220 on the raw copy, which may be subpar to a 9, at best a 9, or it could be a 10. But what are the chances of this raw card being a 10 as opposed to buying this 9 and cracking it and it getting a bump? So that's another way that if I see where PSA 9s and raw copies are doing around the same amount or even less, by the time I pay to get the raw card graded, I would pay the same price for buying the PSA 9, cracking it out and resubmitting it and hoping for a bump. And in worst case scenario, getting a 9 in return at the price that I planned on spending on it anyway. So it's more of an educated gamble. You know what I mean? As opposed to, I know that card has been a 9.
Yeah, it's a hedge.
The chances of it getting a 10 are probably better than the chances of me getting it back and it being an 8.
Yeah. Agreed.
Let me ask you, do you
That's
do that
definitely
with
great.
numbered cards? Are you doing that with numbered cards as well? Are you worried about the?
Aren't
I
they
worry
starting to
that they're
not
tracking that.
regrade the same numbered card anymore?
That's what you hear, but I've also
so
seen
many-
people submitting the same numbered card.
Yeah, there's so
I
many
know
stuff.
somebody that submitted one of ones, two different people, tried to resubmit them again, and
That's
they
different.
basically told them, no, this is the grade still. Boom, here's your card back.
I mean, one of one is kind of different. It'd be a little bit easier to track.
One's kind of different, in my opinion.
There's so many numbered cards out there.
Gold
that
to
it's-
10. And what's
Golds
the
to 10 could be another one because
example?
golds are so popular in the hobby. But okay, say for instance, I have a cheap Mahomes here.
Well, I'm just asking, in your example, Steve, when you've cracked 9s to submit them, are you looking at them being common, refractors, or any of them numbered cards that you're looking at? And another quick comment I was going to make too. I love how you calculate your grading fee when you make a buy, because I calculate my grading fee when I do breaks. When I do breaks, I have a budget for how much I'm going to spend, and then I assume, and this is another thing I'll do. I assume I'm going to get 10 cards that I'm going to grade. Sometimes I'll force 10 cards to grade. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, this one's going to grade it too. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
that's why my
Jared
grading mentality is different.
Yeah, Jared in the comments is stating he tried to resubmit a Jeter 10 numbered to 10 auto, and it won't regrade it. PSA won't regrade it.
Did they reslab it
I
back
know
in
they're
the old
putting it
thing, or
back
they send
down.
it back to you raw?
You know what's funny is I know everybody craps on tag for the most part, but I saw a video of a guy who took a card out of a tag case that he resent the card. They gave it the same number with the exact same serial number again because they knew it had already been graded, and it was a base card, no serial number. So they somehow are using a technology that knows it's the same card. Now, supposedly they can't regrade the same card perfect every time. That's kind of the flaw, people say.
Mm-hmm.
But they had to fingerprint it somehow, or the card's physical aspects came up as already been graded, and they just reholdered it with the same number, same serial name. But they did grade it again to make sure it met that criteria.
Yeah, Charles T has a comment here that Charles T has a comment here that I'm not necessarily sure if it's true or not, because he says all eBay authenticity is a great thing for raw cards. Anything over 250 has to be checked. So if somebody lists a card as near mint to mint and it has to pass eBay authenticity, then whoever's authenticating the card has to agree that it is at least a near mint to mint card. The Justin Fields card I referenced earlier had to go through eBay authentication. And it is the one that has surface scratches and 2 surface dimples on it. So, hey, hopefully PSA pre-graded that and looked at it and said this is a 9 or better. So that's what I hope. But in my eyes, it's probably not. On a really, really, really good day from a PSA grader, it'll be a 9. But when I send that in, I'm going to assume that it's going to be an 8. And that's multiple cards that I have that have gone through eBay authenticity. An orange Pulsar Justin Fields that has been on my channel where I didn't check the centering good enough on myself, which was my mistake. But the top to bottom centering on that card is way off. And I bought that card for $300. It went through eBay authenticity. And they passed it as being near mint to mint. So I don't know how accurate that is, how they're actually looking at it, who they have doing it. Is it still going through CGC? Is it their grading criteria? I'm not sure how that is working. And what is their definition of near mint to mint? 8, 9, maybe, I guess. They don't label anything as gem.
Yeah, so what I was doing earlier is I bought some of the Upper Deck hockey stuff from Walmart because I figured a hobby box is $300. I'll
got
spend $300. Yeah, I got 6 megas from Walmart and then 4 blasters. So
I have a question for you guys as breakers.
I was trying to pay attention. I just want to say something. I was paying attention to the chat. I hope you guys appreciate that.
Target hasn't dropped
there.
theirs yet. So pay attention to Target dropping theirs here in the next few days.
But I agree with you on that. I agree with you. I'm going to spend some money on that damn retail, guys.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Charles, 101 full, I say rip it off. So
we're just going to say Charles T came back with eBay's definition, light scratches are near mint. So, but is eBay's definition the same thing as a grading company's definition? Is my thing
because isn't it PSA graders at eBay? Who does?
I thought it was CGC
or CGC. Yeah. But CGC is kind of tough. So I don't know if I would agree with that.
I mean, and honestly, I haven't sent in a modern card PSA order in probably over a year. At least in any amount of bulk. So I don't know what even constitutes as a 9 nowadays. I'm very tough on my own cards. I don't know if one little surface dimple hurts a card. I don't know if one little light scratch on the surface really hurts a card. To what extent? I know it hurts a card, but I don't know
It
to
just
what
matters
extent.
what the rest of the grades are. If you have 3 10s and that's a 9, they're going to 10 it. That's just what they'll do. And this is why I was earlier when we were joking about Beckett, only grades 4 things. So if I can get those 4 things to 10, it doesn't matter whatever other 30 things they supposedly grade. They grade 4 things. They've always graded 4 things. Half these other companies, I think they grade 4 things. Now, when it goes to vintage, yes, there's a whole separate group of different people that are doing stuff. But modern, looks good.
So I have a question because you guys break. So I have a question. Do you guys buy into like mid-tier product? And when I say mid-tier, I'm talking about mid-tier from your basic stuff. I'm talking about your top tier being Prism. Even though National Treasures and Flawless are your tippity top tier. I'm talking about when you get down into the when you eliminate
the price point's good.
So products like Leaf Rookies and Stars or Panini Phoenix and things like that. Do you mess with breaks on that type of stuff? And when they do a break like that,
and a lot of times I got to be looking for something specific because I'm not the guy that goes in and buys the whale team. Like I'm not going and looking for Texans. If I'm going to play the gambling game, I'm going to go look for the Lions, for instance, in breaks right now because there's more top tier younger
products
players.
like Origins, Plates and Patches, I guess even Spectra. But when you go into that type of stuff, what's
enough? And it's something that I want.
What's considered a hit out of that though?
So I mean, majority of them all have X amount of autos and then mims. I mean, what Leafs Rookie and Stars that just came out of Plates and Patches, there's 3 autos, 2 mims per hobby box. So if you can get into a case break, there's a fair amount of autos that are coming out, lots of numbered cards.
Okay, so there's lots of numbered cards, but I'm going to guess that your case hits, your autos, your mem cards are by definition going to be your hits. But what I guess what are people excited to get out of that? Because if you're breaking Prism,
so
I'll look at like for instance, Prism. I was trying to get into jet spots for Aaron Rodgers stuff. Plus, he has a Magna in that as well. And the Aaron Rodgers or the Prism jet spot is cheaper than the Buck spot, who has less things to actually hit in the product, especially higher end stuff.
But that's specific to you. I mean, like when people are breaking Prism in basketball or football. If they get a CJ Stroud, even if it's a base, they're probably like, oh, I got a CJ Stroud, or I got a Wemby, even if it's a base, or if they get color, even better. But when you're buying like a product like Phoenix or Leaf Rookies and Stars, and you just get a CJ Stroud, is that something to be excited over, or do you actually have to get one of the bigger cards out of the product for it to be exciting?
Even in Prism this year, a base CJ Stroud, I was a fair amount of case breaks, and you're lucky if you saw 2 CJ Stroud base rookie autos. And I rarely ever saw a colored Stroud out of probably 20 to 30 cases that I watched get open. I wouldn't in every one of those.
What product are you talking about?
Prism.
Yeah, but I mean, if you get a Prism base CJ Stroud, you're like, hey, I got a $20 card at least, right? Raw.
Yeah, but it costs $1,400 to get into the spot.
Is that how much the spot costs?
It should be. So I would say if you get a CJ Stroud Prism base, you should think of that as $100 PSA 9, in my opinion. I think its future market value will be more. In a PSA 10, it should be a PSA. You should not sell that card raw. Like that's one. If you're in a break, you should sell nothing raw.
Center left to right,
unless it's really scrapped.
It's not going to grade a 9.
So what? Okay, so I guess basically to stop.
To answer your question, so lower. Let me answer your question. Lower tier products, right? Donruss has, and most of them are like you said, they're the downtowns or they're a Kaboom or something like that. An Absolute. Those are the chase cards in there. They all have or used to have an RPA like equivalent. Right. And lower numbered are the better ones. They all have 101s to chase. They also have some of them will have some nice vet or rookie passing the torch. You have like the rookie and a vet autograph, dual autographs, which are nice chases. Some of those lower products. I stay with license. I don't do Leaf. I don't do, non-life. Like for me, I'm a Panini person on football and basketball.
I said Leaf Rookies.
I'm thinking Panini look Rookies and Stars.
That's what I meant to say. I'm thinking back to 1998 when it was Leaf Rookies and Stars, and I was pulling Peyton Manning and Randy Moss cards out of it.
I mean, I've been in every product. Every product has a chase or something to go after. But to me, what I focused on now is again, I know which products have the most value. Prism. What's great about Prism is like we just said, the base rookie holds value. No other products will hold the value like that. Like no one's gonna be chasing the Chronicles rookies 3 or 4 years from now. They'll show up and you'll be like, oh, that's neat. The Prism will still be there.
So
Optics probably the second most popular in my opinion,
How
because of the
much-
rated rookie has such a brand.
Mhm. In a middle product like Phoenix, I'm just going to say Phoenix or the Rookies and Stars,
Yep.
how much would the Houston, Texas spot cost you?
Still going to be somewhere.
I'm going to assume, yeah, $500 to $800 for the. It's probably going to be about 20% of the product. I look at it as a ratio. So you find out how much the product is. So, for example, in Prism, it's what, $2,000 for a case in Prism, and that's roughly 1/6 of the cost of the case.
Okay, so if you got
roughly
into
about 18 to 20% of the cost.
if you got into a Houston, Texas,
And that's why that's how breakers will price this too. You look at their PYT percentages. Most of them are basing it on previous product, what the PYT overall percentage of the product is. A good one to track this, by the way, is Mojo Breaks publishes their pricing. They're very public about it, which I like. But you can see, like, for example, Connor Bedard, that case, I believe, is 3,600 or 30. What's it? How much is a case of hockey? 12 boxes, $300 a box, $3,600.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and 2,000 of that is going to the Connor Bedard spot. So that's over 50% of the product value going in one spot. Same thing with the Spurs right now. The Spurs, Victor Wembanyama is roughly 50% of the product's total cost are going in that Spurs spot. It's killing me in Prism. Like in Prism, it's cheaper to buy the product or the retail product, not the box product. Don't touch that shit.
But I mean, what I'm
That's
getting
why I
at
look
is,
at the ratios, Steve.
as a card flipper and somebody who's trying to find value, I'm trying to weigh in the prices of singles versus the prices of somebody who's actually buying into the spot in a break. So when I ask about the Houston Texans spot in a mid-tier product of like Rookies and Stars, and it's like $500 to $600 for the Houston Texans spot. Say you get a card like this one here, if you can see it without the light.
Yep, Thrillers.
This is a Rookie Thrillers
Yep,
insert
numbered.
blue, numbered out of 50. Now, is that considered a hit in that product? If you're in that break, are you excited
Yes.
about getting this card for your $500 spot, or are you like, no, this that's not a card that's there?
That's just putting a dent in what you put into it.
Right. So
That's what,
Yeah.
as
I don't
me,
know
somebody-
that product, but let me just say this. That should be a good hit. I don't know that product, but the fact there's no live autos,
right.
and that's a number to 50. Like if that was in Prism, let's put it this way. If you have any Prism insert hit, number to 50 with CJ Stroud, you should be damn happy because that should, you're looking at PSA 10ing that.
Right.
And I'm thinking that's $1,000 plus card.
so the
And a
Texans
number
spot-
50 Prism insert. I
Texans
don't know
spot
Phoenix well enough to say that.
football case, which is 8 boxes. Right now on break comp, somebody's got it for $250.
Okay, so $250.
Yeah, for 8 boxes.
Okay, so like I have these two CJ Strouds. I have the red and the blue because I consider them both to be color matches for him. One's out of 50, one's out of 99. I bought these two together for $150, and I'll grade them. And if they 10, I think I'll do well because they're numbered. They're CJ Stroud, and not everybody can afford higher end product. But somebody bought into a break and on their best day hit both of these, unless they really got a higher end hit. Hit both of these for what Michael Ham just said is a $250 price tag to get into Houston. If you were to hit both of these, you're still recovering. You're still putting these on eBay and getting $150 of your money back. Now, to that person, that might be a win. I got some of my money back. I can gamble another day. To me, somebody who's looking to capitalize on budget cards, I'm going to buy these when people are trying to dump them and recoup some of their losses. I'm going to then grade these, and that's where I'm going to try to turn my numbers.
And that's why a lot of times, if I want to end up with that spot, I look for something that's a random, a flat price to get in with the random and just hope to hit a spot. Or if it's a product I really like, I'll buy 3 spots for randoms and just see what I get. I do that with a lot of the Facebook guys where, they'll even lower the prices if you buy 2 or 3, so you can get into a break that you wouldn't normally even be able to buy the box for anyway.
Right.
And you might get one of the better teams.
Random gambling.
So
it goes back to the case hits. It's like the case hits that I'm talking about. Like if you buy into Leafs plates and patches and you want the Bengals, it's probably going to cost you a couple $100 at least, right? And then I picked up the case hit of Joe Burrow for 50. Picked up the case hit of Joe Burrow for $50. So somebody's like probably buying into a break, with the Bengals, not getting the cards that they want, and then just listing their singles.
90% of the cards you're going to want to get through the stuff. It's just better to buy the card, but you just like that throw of the hunt.
I get it. Yeah, I get that. I completely understand that.
I'll be honest. I don't understand it, but I know it happens. Like, in fact, as somebody who loves breaks, and I love PYT breaks because I don't like the randomness of random. Every time I'm in a PYT break, I'm thinking to myself, what fool bought the Arizona Cardinals, and what are they expecting to hit? Okay?
Yeah, right.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, I was in the Disney Marvel or whatever, and I bought a spot that I liked. So I was looking for a price point. Not a whole lot of cases. They only made 3,000 cases of that product anyway. And, at the end of it, nobody wanted the lower end stuff. So the guy was trying to liquidate them. I'm like, listen, there's 12 spots here. I'll buy them on average $7 a spot, because if I hit a gold or a 1 of 1 or something, I know those are $5,000 to $1,000 cards. And for $7, why not? I don't care if it's a lesser person. Somebody's going to want it. So I just did that. I didn't hit anything great out of it, but I can get more money back than what I put into it because of that setup, basically. So I usually sometimes look for those teams where maybe there's a top tier team left and there's 4 lesser teams, and they go and they do a little random where everybody gets in. We're going to mix them up, because a 1 in 4 chance is way better at that price point than it is trying to buy it outright, because nobody wanted to realistically pay that. So sometimes there's those little options too, but you got to kind of follow along and pay attention each day as well.
I forgot the most recent break I was in was it's been a little while back, but it was the Disney Krakow or whatever that stuff was that was really popular. I got into it Instagram and bought myself it wasn't a break. I guess I basically bought myself a box. It was basically a rip it and ship it. A rip it and ship it. So I bought my own box. They just broke it down on camera for me and sent it to me. But one thing that they were doing, I don't know if this happens with you guys. Does this happen with you guys where breakers will offer to buy your hits back from you? Does that ever happen directly?
Nobody I've broken with does it.
I have had that.
Because this person that was doing this break was like, I'll buy back anybody of you guys' singles that you want to sell back to me, like after the break. So that's one thing that they said going in, and they were buying singles back.
I'll tell you why. I have paid breakers to do that on my behalf. Okay. And I learned this years ago. So, for example, when I was chasing Zion back in the day, a couple of friends of mine, we were chasing all the optic. We just wanted base optic Zions. We were mass grading those suckers and flipping them. And we did really well off that. So at breaks I was in, I'd tell people, hey, we'll pay for the Zions. We would give the breaker $20 for each Zion he'd give us. He could offer $25 of break credit, right? And make more money. Or he could offer $50, whatever he wanted to. But we would go to breakers and say, look, when you ship to me, can you ship me all the extra optic base they have? And they would totally do that. And then they just tell me how much you have. Hey, I'm sending you 15 of them. That's $300. And I'd pay PayPal them $300. So it absolutely happens. In fact, it's one of the best secrets, I think, of breaking is that when you build these relationships with these guys, a lot of these guys do want cash. They want it fast. So you're right. When I'm in the streams, I'll even say, hey, if you want to sell that, DM me. And I have a name. People know who Ziggy is in breaks. So like, hey, you can reach out to Ziggy. He'll hook you up. He's got a good price. So I do that all the time. And that's why I know breakers will do that. They'll be buying for themselves or they're buying on their behalf. What I don't like is when they give break credit for stuff that they then flip into a repack because they know it's a good chase card that they can put in a repack. That irks me. Mm-hmm. I know that happens too. So I am normally not the seller to the breakers. I'm normally the buyer from the breakers. But I've seen that happen where a big card gets pulled on Mahomes, kaboom. They're like, hey, we'll buy that back for you. Give you $1,000 of breaker credit because they keep you in the breaks and they can put that into a chaser for a repack. So I've seen that happen.
Yeah. I know one thing, I don't know if you guys want to talk about it tonight because, again, it's not my stream, but you guys had talked about regulation.
You're carrying the stream, man.
Well, yep. I remember watching one of your live streams, and I chatted with Michael Ham kind of about this afterwards, and it was talking about like opinions on regulation in breaking and how comparing it to a casino and casino regulation. And I just had a lot of thoughts that were different because I know how casino regulation works. And I think a lot of people are confused as to how casino regulation actually works. And, and what casino regulation, what parts of the casino it actually applies to. So, so sometimes when I hear people say, breaking is gambling. I understand that. I get that. I believe any part of the hobby is gambling, whether you're breaking, buying wax yourself, buying into breaks, buying singles, prospecting. Grading is a gamble. I talked about it in one of my last videos. Every aspect of raw to graded is a gamble. There's 5 different gambles you got to make before you hopefully get that PSA 10. But like, I think that when we think of gambling, we think of chance.
Yeah.
Or it's just strictly chance. It's just chance. It's chance that I'm going to hit a big card. It's chance that I'm going to win on the blackjack table. It's just chance. But in the casino, that's not true. There's games of chance and there's games that aren't chance. Things that aren't left up to chance, that are left up to some sort of educated decision that a player can make, are not regulated. Okay, the only thing that is regulated is things that are truly chance, like a slot machine. Okay, so a slot machine, you put money in it, you pull the lever, right? You don't know what's going to happen. You know, you put money in it, you pull the lever, you get trip 7s, you win the jackpot. You get bar 7 cherry, you win nothing, right? So the lottery regulates what a casino has to pay out on a slot machine. Okay, this much money, this much of what you take in your slot machines as a whole, not per individual slot machine, but as a floor, your entire casino floor has to take in this much percent, or has to pay out this much percent of what your slot machines take in. So say, for instance, the lottery puts a 30% stipulation on a casino. For every $100 that they take in, they have to pay $30 of that back out to the public. That's a regulation. And the reason that can be regulated is because the only chance you're taking on a slot machine in actuality is which slot machine you're going to sit at. Because every single slot machine is controlled by a computer that tells it when it's going to win and when it's going to lose. It's not an actual random natural chance. It is a computer-generated AI that somebody with the push of a button can say, hey, this machine is going to pay out a lot today, or this machine ain't going to pay out shit today. But as long as we're paying,
do you press that button?
No, I'm not in slots. As long as the casino is giving out 30% return as an entirety, then we're covered by regulation, right? So with that regulation being in effect, it's basically luck of which slot machine you sit at. Some of those slot machines are going to pay out 30%. Some of those slot machines aren't going to pay out anything, which means the balance is some are paying out 0, which means others got to pay out more than 30% to compensate for the ones that aren't paying out anything. So it's all in the luck of choosing the right slot machine of thousands and thousands of slot machines that are on a casino floor. So there's
quick question. Is that time based? So for example, if I see a big slot machine payout, in my mind, I should say it's not going to be paying out for the next 12 hours. I could probably do a separate YouTube channel on casino and gambling advice from the inside. Now, I don't know how much. I don't know how much
would like that very much.
I don't know how much that would get. I don't know if that would be frowned upon or not. But to give people the ins and outs, even if I just
quickly, you said games of chance. Slots make sense to me. Can you explain table games and poker? I assume poker is. Are you telling me there's no regulation on poker? And let me quickly say this too. My assumption when I say regulation is that we come into a casino expecting that that the gameplay is fair. No one has a gun. No one's cheating me at the table. That there's a fair infrastructure there, and that's what I feel like is not fair in breaking. That's why I want regulation there. But I'd go ahead and answer it if you can.
The only cheating going on in a casino is coming from the players. And you may say, what the hell do you mean by that? No, because the casino is very open about, okay, don't walk in here and expect to win. If the casino wasn't rigged for the casino to win, the casino would not be in business. It just would not make sense. So the only cheating going on in a casino is people who actually cheat. Now, I'll get into cheating by definition on a player side in a moment. Games of regulation are games that really have no set odds of how something is going to happen. Now, blackjack is 60-40 in favor of the house. The house is going to win 60% of the money on the table, 40% of the money on average. If you simulated 1,000 hands, 40% of that money is going to be paid back out to the players. So over the period of a long period of time, 60% going to the house, 40% going to the favor or to the players is going to add up for a lot of money for the casino, because there is going to be 20% worth of losers, right? So when you're looking at a blackjack shoe, there's either 4, 6, or 8 decks in a shoe. Maybe you're playing pitch blackjack, that's 2 decks. Maybe you're playing single deck pitch, where it's 52 cards in a deck. You can make an educated decision on how you want to play your hand. There is a book strategy to playing blackjack. Now, everybody says the casino wrote the book, so don't follow the book. They're just trying to get you to lose. But there is a book, and people will say, what does the book say should I do? What should I do on my aces? What does the book say? Well, it says split them, right? What should I do? Should I double down this hand? Well, the hands, the dealer showing the 10, I probably wouldn't double down. There's different scenarios that there is a basic strategy that you can use. There's no strategy in a game of chance like breaking cards. You pick your team, but that's it. It's a decision that you make, is picking your team. Okay. Now,
but I'd argue checklist is important. And this is what I'm saying. If you know what's in there and it's balanced properly, you have a better chance, because it is a form of it's all odds. When you open a pack of cards, there's odds on how many hits before you hit a pack. That's why people keep opening packs, because I've got to open 6 more hundred packs to hit that chase. If I look at breaking the same way, I can get into more, but statistically my numbers are, if I'm in 12 cases, I should get this many hits based on the checklist. I'm saying the checklist is key to that.
But not necessarily you as an individual in a break, because not only is each case broken down individually by its odds of what hits you should get out of it, you're also looking at 32 other people who have a chance of getting said card, as opposed to just yourself. If you go into if you yourself sit down and you buy a box of wax and it says, I'm going to get 2 autographs out of this box, you're going to get 2 autographs out of that box on average, regardless of the player, regardless of the team. However, when you sit down into a break, you're now 1 in 32 people who has a chance of getting that hit.
But if I know the checklist, I know the mathematical probability I have of hitting that autograph based on my team. There's some teams that don't even have autograph hits, and people think they're going to get an autograph, and they don't even have the team. You know what I'm saying? Part of it really is.
It doesn't necessarily mean that is going to be the team that's in that case. And you're paying more for premium
I look at
it at random is why.
I look at it like this. I'm looking at if 1,000 cases were made, and I know specifically what the product is based on the checklist. I'm just going to do round numbers. And there's so many Wimbies, and there's 1,000 cases, and I can get a percentage of those cases. I put myself in a statistical better position to win. Now, this is my gambler's degenerate mind, but it's the same one that sits me down when I'm playing blackjack and goes, well, I've seen so many 10s, I'm going to go ahead and hit because the 10's coming, right? It's those mathematical probabilities. You need some math behind it, but some of that is at least knowing what the odds are. Like right now, breaking before COVID, you had much more visibility. Checklists were good. Certain teams that were terrible were bundled into other teams. There's no autographs in that. That's a twofer. After COVID, there's so much ignorance and so much blindness, and no one knows what the hell the checklists are. We're making buys and making decisions before checklists come out, that it's gotten chaotic. But that's why I'm saying, if this was regulated, if it was regulated,
but something we talked about earlier,
checklist would come out.
But a checklist is obsolete when you don't know how many cases are being made.
But you should.
You can have a checklist. You can say, hey, I'm going to get a case hit in a case. But like we said earlier, how many you're going to get one per case? How many of that card? How many cases are made?
So I agree with you. And again, I'd say that there need to be print runs to be part of the regulation. Like, let me say this: regulation. I don't think the government will ever regulate breaking. Okay, but I do think we could self-regulate it as an industry by print should be exposed, right? The odds should be available. No. You should have audits of how products are distributed.
It won't ever be regulated.
If you don't do that, here's my point. If you don't self-regulate this, you're going to continue to have this transient hobby where people come in, they spend a couple $1,000s, they either get burned and leave, or they make money and leave. But we're never going to grow this thing. It's never going to become legit. It's never going to become the growth of 10. You're never going to get to 10x. If you don't put some real,
we already came out. What was it? 2021 was the height of all of this, and we're not expecting that to happen for another 20 years, maybe. We don't know. But at the end of the day, like, you have that massive law before it even gets back up again to where somebody's really going to care. I mean, you have people putting out bounties on cards of $1 million that should catch people's eyes, but they don't even care because they're like, okay, some idiot wants to pay for this. I'm not going to stop them, and just move along. So we set the prices of the cards. If nobody pays for it, it's not worth that. Yes, we have to pay an entry fee to get into a box in order to break it to get to singles, but that's because we're willing to do it. But it's because of breakers. If we don't have breakers, nothing is as expensive as it is right now. If breaking never existed, if it never really took off, none of these boxes would be this.
I can't say that. I don't.
I'm not saying that break. I'm not saying what I'm talking about is relating breaking to the casino. And you asked about games of chance, and I touched on slot machines, but I'm going to go back to the roulette wheel because it's something you talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm. I love the roulette.
Completely unregulated. 100% chance on a roulette wheel.
Yeah.
Because that is a ball being spun by a human with a wheel that's going at a different speed, opposite direction of a ball, that's going to fall into a 1 in 36 or 1 in 38 number, and you have to be betting said number to win. Someone can spin the exact same number 10 times in a row. And even though you may say to yourself, okay, there's 36 numbers here, I'm going to play every single one of them, and eventually my number is going to hit. That doesn't mean your number is going to hit, because the same number can repeatedly hit over and over and over again. So even though it's a 36-1 that your number is going to hit, once a number is hit, it doesn't get crossed off the board and it can't be hit again.
Hold on. Quick question. When you said it's not regulated, does that mean that someone could have a button under the table? But they can't mess with the game, right? They can't have a button that makes the green come up, right? There's no hanky panky going on.
No, it's all manual. In fact, all roulette wheels, the only thing that is regulated by the lottery is that they're level and things like that they're not crooked.
So what you're saying is the payouts are not regulated because of the random chance of a roulette, and the payouts are with the individual chance.
Well, I mean, the payouts are what they are, but there is no regulation on who's going to win and who's going to lose, or how many people have to win, or how many people have to win within a certain time frame, like there is on the slot machine.
Yeah, I guess my point though is there's regulations and the fact that the only people using that have to be 21, right? And that there is, I'm giving you chips, you're going to pay me out when I win. So there's basic rules there.
Right. And there is no regulation saying that, okay, for every $100 that somebody buys in on the roulette wheel, we got to give them $10 worth of victory. There is no regulation saying that, like there is on the slot machine, because it's a complete chance. It's complete odds. There's no way to make that happen unless you're using an artificial electronic roulette machine, which does exist, or an electronic blackjack machine, which does exist. But when you play those games, you got to think about those games as slot machines, as computers. They're not going to give you true numbers like you do when you're counting a deck of cards. Like when you just said, hey, I might hit my hand because I haven't seen a 10 come out, or I may not hit my hand because I haven't seen it. An AI generated game does not give a shit about how many 10s are on the table. It is going to pay you when it thinks that you should be paid, and is going to take your money when you're supposed, when it thinks that it's going to take your money, and you're going to win on more shit hands than you are on bad hands. That's why when you play online poker, how many times does a straight beat 3 of a kind? How many times do you lose an online
every time I'm
poker
the hand
to a straight when you have trips, in comparison to when you're playing on a live manual dealt game, a poker room? And back to the thing about poker room or poker and regulation, the house doesn't make money on poker because the house doesn't compete against the players. All the house does is support, or is supply the dealer the place for you to play, a licensed place to play, a safe place for you to play, and they just take a rake of the pot. There is no regulation as far as that, because we're just basically hosting the game. You're competing against the other 7 people in the seats, not against the dealer. Where on the casino gaming floor, you're competing against a dealer on most games. And there's some games where you're just trying to make a poker hand. But yeah, that's, if you go into some of the Native American reservations here in the States that allow gambling, and have had casinos for a long time until they started popping up in cities everywhere now. You had Vegas, you had Atlantic City, and you had a lot of the reservations, especially on the West Coast. The one thing that you will not see, or did not used to typically see, you may now because of different rules on the reservations, were You would never see dice games. You would never see roulette games because they do not allow games of chance on their casino floor.
Wow.
And that's why. Anybody ever walking into a game, so say you go into a California casino and you go up to the dice table and you're like, where are the dice? Because instead of rolling dice, they're throwing cards out on the table to give you your die numbers. So they have a person there with a deck of cards and they flip over 2 cards. It's a 6 and a 2. Okay, the dice roll is an 8 because we flipped it over on cards. They're substituting cards for dice because games of chance are not allowed in that casino by their law.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
The cards are a controlled substance. You know how many cards are there and you know what numbers are on them. You just don't know which cards are going to be flipped at any given time.
That is weird. I would definitely not play there.
But that's why you would see, and it could have changed over time. I haven't dealt with anybody from any Western casinos in a while, but when I started working at the casino that I work at now, a lot of people from all over the world, not just the United States, came to work at our casino when it first opened because casino employees are nomads. They follow the money. Whenever a new house opens, that's where the big money is going to be because that's going to be the popular casino in that area for a while. That's where they're going to go. A couple months later, they move on. They chase the money.
Really?
That's what they do until they settle in somewhere where it becomes a career because as you move from casino to casino, you should never take a lateral move. If you go from one casino to the next, you should always take a promotion. You should always go one step higher as you move through the casino ranks. And once you get into a casino where you're a pit boss or a shift manager and you're comfortable and you're like, okay, this is where I want to be. I want to settle down. That's typically where you settle. Then you move your family there, and that's kind of how it works.
Is that how you did your career? Did you start as a dealer?
Not me. I did start as a dealer, but I didn't bounce around a lot. What happened with me was as other casinos opened, they were coming to me offering me jobs. So in order to lock me down at my casino, because my casino didn't want to lose me to another casino, they give me a really good position and basically a contract, for lack of a better term, that I couldn't turn down.
Do you see people who know you from cards at the casino?
I've seen 1 or 2 that have come in because they passed through. My state isn't what I would call in the summertime it is, but Delaware, Delaware, it's not really a vacation destination. It is in the beaches in the summertime. So sometimes people will be passing through from like Pennsylvania, New York, and they'll be going to the beach with their family. And they'll be like, oh, I know the casino not far from here where Steve works. I might stop in and say, I've had that happen a couple times. Yeah. But yeah, I'm not going to, it sucks because I can't interact with them the way that I would like to. If I see somebody at a show or something like that, they get my full undivided attention, regardless of what I'm doing. I'll stop in the middle of a deal. I believe my viewers deserve that much from me. But at work, it gets tough. And then it's kind of like, I hope that they don't think I could brush them off because in my work, it's not only a security thing. It's just I got a lot going on. I'm responsible for a lot. So it's not like I can't take my focus off my job for an extended period of time to hold like a lengthy conversation.
It's funny. I think of my gambling experiences, always making friends with the guys, either the guy, the stick man, the roll guy, and all that stuff, or the dealer. And we always make fun of the pit boss. Hold on, he's coming over. Your boss is coming. Don't worry, I'll say good things about you. Like the pit boss was never the guy you were chummy with when you're gambling. I don't know if you've had that experience, but you're right. If I saw you, I would expect you to not be engaging. You wouldn't.
You have the managers and supervisors that sweat the money, and then you have the ones that are just there. They don't sweat the money. They don't mind if people are winning. Usually those are the ones that are very, and it doesn't matter position from floor supervisor on up. You have ones that sweat the money, which means they don't want a lot of money to go out in their section. They don't want there be a lot of winners because they're going to have to explain why people are winning. There's always a superior that wants to know why. There's no way to explain it. There's no way to explain it.
The numbers aren't working. Your numbers say we should win, and the numbers just aren't working.
Like you said earlier, there's people who come in with different procedures and different strategies and stuff to try to beat the casino. And it's just impossible. I'm still trying to come up with ways to tell my boss why somebody is winning, and I haven't been able to over the past.
Oh, it's easy, Steve. You tell them it's magic.
No, I tell them, but they give them a reason as to like a legit
Oh,
reason.
tell them they
Like,
work for PSA. They're wizards. It's magic.
I'm like, they're just lucky.
They
But how do you
created some
explain
dents.
that to somebody?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I was talking about cheating earlier, and so cheating is when someone pinching and capping a bet. That's cheating. Somebody has a made hand, they add to their bet without the dealer noticing, so they can get paid out more when it's time to
Yeah,
get paid.
Okay.
Or a bad hand, and they try to pinch their bet and
Bullshit.
lessen it. Card counting is not cheating. Card counting is not something you can be arrested for. Card counting is not against the law. It is frowned upon by the casino.
To leave for
I can cut anybody's action at any given time without reason.
Yeah.
So that answers the question around card counting. Yeah, I can cut their action for card counting. I can also cut their action because they said hello to my dealer in the wrong way. I would never do something like that. But what I'm just saying is gambling is a privilege. It is not a right. Casinos are mostly private property and reserve the right to evict anyone from their property at any time. Now, so if a card counter, if I'm on to somebody red flagged, if I whether they're red flagged already in the database, there is a database. Casino has a facial recognition database. It's like a fingerprint for your face. All I got to do, if I have a suspicious player, I can call surveillance. I can say, hey, I need a biometric run on this player. And then they will give me back any information that may come up on that guy. Sounds scary, but it's true.
That's across your chain of casinos as well, right?
That's
not just
usually an international database.
Yeah.
I'll get people from Europe.
Do competing casinos share that same database?
It's international.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it's international.
Wow.
I will get, like I said, I would get people from Europe and other countries. It's shared information. So as long as it's being documented, it's going to be shared into the database. Now, if I get a SIN alert, okay, if I have a SIN alert and I say, hey, this person is a card counter, I'm backing them off, and then I don't report it to the biometric system, then it's never going to go into the database. I basically cut that person's action. I let him go. I didn't report it. It's not going to go into the database. He may walk into the casino 20 minutes up the road and start counting cards. However, if I say, hey, this guy's got a SIN alert, he's burned, surveillance, put him in the database, it'll go into that database. And if he goes 20 minutes up the road to that casino and they run a biometric on his face, he will pop into their system as an advantage player.
Hold on. Do you track fish as well? Like, this guy's a fucking idiot. He keeps losing money.
No, I mean, we track what we call problem childs through through different ways. Like if somebody's a regular 86 patron because they come in and they are disruptive at the tables or they personally attack dealers. Now, if someone is drunk and they're losing thousands of dollars and they say to a dealer, oh, you're an asshole because they lose in hand at blackjack, I'm gonna let that slide. If they start getting personal, racial, sexual, religion, anything personal to that individual, that's when I'm like, okay, this guy has got to go. 24-hour ban. We will decide if we want to let him back in after 24 hours. After we look into the situation even more, talk to the dealer, get statements, things like that. Maybe like, okay, now this person, they're done. They're done for good. They come in next time. Okay, here's your eviction papers. If you step foot in this premises again, you'll be arrested for trespassing. You're no longer welcome here.
I can count to one. Eric. I'm discussing a comment down here.
And this has turned into a casino conversation. So I don't even know if people are even interested or if you guys are even interested about it. It turned from breaking into casino, but so it's basically just turned into me talking about my job. But
you have guys that also, if they come in there and they ring up because they're big winners everywhere, that you can tell them just not to play. Like, do you have a list of those people?
No, and if people win from us, they just win from us. I mean, I can't I can't ban people who win, and I can't kick people out from
in
winning.
Vegas that aren't allowed to play at a lot of casinos because they just win all the time because they just
that's what they tell you because they want you to think that they're professional, awesome gamblers.
Well, I forgot what's the one guy's name is all tattooed up, the skinnier little guy. I mean, he wins a lot. Like, he's not allowed to gamble in almost anywhere in Vegas anymore.
There's another reason to it. There's
I don't
another
know.
reason to it. Either they are putting him in as an advantage player. They're not just kicking him out because they think that he's lucky. There's another
No,
reason, and it's
he,
either
he knows how to take the best odds and play with those odds only
on
on
what?
specific games.
Yeah, but the odds are still in the casino's favor. There's no way to turn a game in a player's favor without
He
cheating.
just has the ability to do it. I don't know. I'll look him up and send you the link to his thing so you can
Okay,
look at it.
I'll give you, if you guys want some real statistics, here's some real statistics on card counting in blackjack. If you sit for 1 hour at a blackjack table at $100 max, now we're only talking $100 max, it's not a lot of money. If you're sitting there by yourself with no other players, there's no interruptions, there's no dealer breaks, which happen once per hour. The new dealer comes in, burns a card, right? Throws the shoe off by burning a card. That card is not required to be exposed. So now you can burn a card without exposing it to a player, which now throws their count off. They don't know what you just burned. That's another reason why switching dealers is in place and people don't even know it. All right.
Yeah.
But if you sit for 1 hour at $100 and you fluctuate your bet up to $100 between 20 and 100, so you don't draw red flags on yourself, and you play the perfect count, you're absolutely flawless on your count. You win all the hands you should win. You catch all the big bets you should catch. You catch your aces when they should be coming out. You capitalize on your splits and your double downs, and you play absolutely flawless blackjack. You will average winning $20 to $30 an hour. So on $100
That's
hand,
not very much.
so that's not a lot of money by the grand scheme of things when you think about card counters. Now, if you're in a high stakes room and it's a $10,000 hand, multiply your $100 bet by that much.
Yeah.
That's where you're going to see your big red flag players, because it doesn't make sense to sit and count cards for an hour, where if you're going to play one single side bet, you're going to tip the dealer once, you're going to tip the waitress for bringing you a drink or pay for a drink. You've already taken away the advantage that you've given yourself by playing 1 hour of perfect card counted blackjack.
Yep. What about people that play specific styles on the roulette wheel? And there's different names for different.
Well, he asked about that earlier, but there's no way to beat the roulette wheel.
No. It's not necessarily you're going to beat. It's almost like you either going to win, you're going to break even, or you're going to lose. But like, I forgot the one I was looking at the other day. It's where you play $75 total up to I think $350 in the way that you stack. If something loses, you stack, and if something wins, you replace. And I watched them play it on a live table as an example, how they were showing how it works. And one guy did one way, one guy did the other. One guy ended up breaking even, the other guy ended up hitting it, but it was only to make X amount of dollars, and then they say walk away. He's like, this is what you do. If you hit here, you go this direction. If you hit here, you go that direction for your best odds to try and double or triple your money. It wasn't like trying to win 20, 30K, 40K, or anything like that. It was realistically maybe winning $1,300 at the end of the day. It was an interesting strategy because they did it for about an hour, so they did it multiple times, and they showed that, listen, this isn't going to win all the time, but to be in your favor more, this is the better option to choose. So it was just an interesting strategy that I forgot what it started with an M, what they called the version of the game was. And I can show it to you one day or talk to you more about it as well. It was interesting.
There's a bet on the dice table, a strategy called the Iron Cross. I don't know why it's called that, but you play the 5, 6, and 8. You put money on the 5, 6, and 8.
I've done this.
And then you bet the field, because every other number besides the 5, 6, and the 8 is in the field, which means if you roll any number, you're getting paid, right? So if you put $10 in the field, then you don't have to put $10 on the 4, the 9, and the 10. And then you have your inside bet set up, 5, 6, and 8. Any number wins now, because I get even money on whatever I put in the field. I have the 5, 6, and the 8 placed, which means I win. So my initial wager on that bet, if it's a $10 table, is $34 inside, $10 in the field. And then if the point is 6 or 8 or 5, I also got to have an additional $10 on the pass line bet to cover the point. So we're looking at what, $54 initial investment to get that bet back. If I win my $10 field bet, I win $10. If I roll a pass line winner, I win $10. If I roll a 5, I win $14 for my $10 bet. I win 7-5, right? I got to hit each one of those numbers individually to win. The moment I roll a 7, all 54 of my dollars is gone.
Yep.
Which means I have to win back $54 before a 7 comes to
Before
even break even. Because you can only win one bet at a time, but you can lose 20 bets at a time.
Yeah.
So you're telling me there's a chance.
So what I'm saying is there's a strategy there. And as long as people keep throwing 5s and 6s and don't roll a 7, which is the highest number probability on the dice to roll, as long as you can dodge that 7, you will make some money. But just think of the average roll, how many rolls somebody actually gets in before they 7 out.
Yeah.
Are you getting in it? Are you making back enough money on individual wins to get back your $54 before you even get into the green? Before that 7 comes out and you might hit 2 numbers and be like, okay, I hit a field number. I got $10. Okay. I just hit my 5. I got $14. I've got back 24 of my 54, but then you 7'd out. So I lost $30 on that roll.
It's like opening a box of cards, man.
And then on the next roll, I got to start all over again.
That's why I like opening cards, because at the end of the day, I get a card that can go up in value later, even if it sucks now.
So back to the beginning, if you win quickly, you need to leave.
Yeah.
Because if you get your money back and leave, then you're fine. The thing is say, for instance, you win $50 on your very first roll and you stay and put 54 more dollars out there, and then it's one roll, no butter, which is what we call an instant 7 out. One roll, 7 out. One roll, no butter, right? So
one roll, no butter.
One roll, no butter. So the next shooter comes out.
Do you say that out loud?
I do all the time, especially when shooters think that they're good shooters and they'll be standing at the dice table and going through their ritual of playing with the dice. And I'm the best shooter in the house. And then they'll come out, roll. Okay. Mark up the point. Then everybody places their bets up and then they instantly 7S straight out. I'd be like, God damn, one roll, no butter. And, but yeah, so say for instance, you win $50 on your first roll profit, and then somebody 7's out and you're up $50. Now you throw your $54 out for the next roll. Somebody goes one roll, no butter. You just lost all the money that you grinded up back in one roll. Now you're starting again. Now say you win $10, somebody goes out. You're down $44 now. So now if you're putting $54 back out on the table, you got to get back your 40 and recoup your 54. Now you got to recoup $94 before you're in the green. And if somebody one roll butters you again, you're done. I mean, you're in the hole that you'll probably never get out of unless you chase and increase your bets. And then when you start increasing your bets and chasing, you tend to lose more. So that's why I'm saying, like, if you win early, just take that money and go. And your thing about the roulette wheel that you're talking about strategies probably involves, okay, we hit our outside bets 2 or 3 spins in a row, we better go. Because if you don't go,
it's basically back down. You're playing 2 outside bets, like the second half and third half of the table, and then you're picking a color. And you're kind of based on what hits or doesn't hit is based on how you either stack by doubling, because you're trying to make that money back, or where you're putting other money at on the table, but you're staying in the same section the whole time is the way it's working. It was just interesting. I mean, the way they were doing it, it was a smarter way to play.
So how would you relate one roll, no butter to breaking cards?
I'll tell you how. When you're buying the Prism, when you buy
Prism and not getting any autographs.
No, I'll tell you. Here's an example. When you buy a case of Panini Prism and you take all the teams with quarterbacks, you pay for Carolina, you take the Texans. This way, the only shit coming out of that case, if anything good, you're getting it. And the scraps go to someone else. That's the same type of strategy. You're paying a lot. Like a full case is... And well, you're hoping that at least one of those is coming out shiny. You've got, because again, statistically looking at cases,
you get more base rookies out of retail than you do out of hobby in Prism football. And
I agree with you.
I've noticed that lately with hobby, and that's what we were talking about with something else earlier today. that it's been better, especially for the lower end rookie, to buy it at retail than to try and even chase it in hobby. You just get more for your
Well,
money
I'll tell you,
every single time.
I'm gonna simply tell you the best fucking product out there is still this stuff right here, man.
If you like
this
basketball,
is like a hobby because I don't disagree, but it's like hobby in the fact it's got 101s, all the hobby hits in a retail package. But don't buy it. It sucks. Please don't touch it. It's not good.
yeah, don't touch
I
it.
love it.
Don't touch it when it's on.
Also
when it's
going
on.
back
Don't
to-
touch it.
Also, going back to casino regulation, because we got a little bit off topic, is like I said, I think people overestimate the amount of regulation in a casino.
Yeah, and once
For
you said
instance-
that to me, Steve, that
Right.
clicked, because you think that the whole casino is regulated. You just assume that.
As a casino,
Yeah.
most casinos play if you get a blackjack on a casino, on a table in a casino, I don't know if you guys play blackjack anywhere or not, but what does it typically pay out?
I don't know.
If you
honestly
get a
don't
black-
even go to the casino. I have a great
1.5.
casino. I go there to look at
Yeah.
people. So
Three
One
to
and a
two.
half.
You get one and a half your money. If you make a $10
Yep.
$10 wager on a hand, you get a blackjack, an ace, and a face. You get paid $15, right? For $20, you get 30. For 100, you get 150. So you get paid 3 to 2. Now, you'll go to some casinos in Atlantic City. They'll pay you 6 to 5. For every $5, you win $6. Okay, now at any given time, okay, that's not regulated by lottery. Lottery is not telling my casino that we have to pay someone 3 to 2 when they get a blackjack. We have told the lottery that's what we're going to do. And at any given time, we can rewrite what is called a mix. That's our basically our rule book for casino. We can say, hey, you know what? We're losing a lot of money on this 3 to 2 bet. Let's go ahead and make our blackjacks pay out 6 to 5. Write that up, submit it to lottery, and next week our blackjacks pay 6 to 5. And that's how it'll work. Lottery can't say, no, you can't do that. We're regulating you. You have to. No. We tell lottery what we're going to do. They just sign off on it. And then
Which is fine.
they make sure we abide by our own rules. We make the rules. They just make sure we abide by our rules.
Which is good because I'll tell you,
You
as a
get what I'm
degenerate
saying?
gambler, I know there's degenerate gamblers who would tell me that, right? They know what has the best odds. They'll tell you when people are paying out better. I just want the information to be available. But I agree with you. You're absolutely right. Like I know when I used to hang out in like New Orleans or Vegas, they would tell you this place is paying, better odds on craps. They're paying X to whatever. Because a lot of times it's promo. Like there's no regulation of what they pay out. It just attracts people that
Right. We used to allow people to take 10 times their pass line bet on odds on a dice game, which means if you bet $10 pass line bet, you could bet $100 odds, regardless of the point. We've now regulated that or knocked that bet back down to 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5. I'm sorry, which is 3 times on the 4 and 10, 4 times on the 5 or 9, 5 times on the 6 and 8. And that's what we started at.
Because
that's what our casino started at. We started at that, and then we're like, hey, we got competition in the area. There's 3 other casinos opened around us. What can we do to increase our dice play? We're going to offer people 10 times their pass line odds. They'll come in just for our odds. We ran that for a long time. We had the best dice game in the state. Then one casino closed their dice game. Another casino took out their dice game for electronic dice games, which means the people can no longer even like shoot the dice and have a natural fun game. And so, you know what? We said, well, damn, our competition's gone. We're going to knock our odds maxes back down to 3, 4, 5. We don't have a reason to have them at 10x now. It's not in the casino's favor because the only bet in the casino that's not taken an edge on by the casino is pass line odds. So why do we want to give people the opportunity to take as much money back there as they can when it's not in our favor? So we lower it back down.
Which I'll tell you, as a guy who's played craps, when we saw high pass line odds, that's where you go to play craps. I mean,
Johnny Cage wants me to
I
answer
can
a
understand
question.
it. It's market. He wanted to know.
Do casinos have access to people's bank accounts? The only time is if someone goes to like the cage / cashier and they want to draw money out of their bank account, or they want to get a wire transfer, or they want to get a line of credit or something like that.
Marker.
Then you have to get their bank information, or you can't wire. You can't grant them that request. You know what I mean? Now, there's other things
But just
when it comes to money wise,
just to
different
confirm,
information we
I think
need. But
I think Steve, I think his question was, so when I walk in there, you guys can scan my face publicly because that's just the world, and you can run a background check based on what other casinos have reported about on my biometric, but you're not getting financial information about me from that face.
no, if I was to go
correct?
put Michael Ham's name into a biometric, unless he's
No,
been
that's not
burned
gonna
somewhere in a casino, nothing's even going to come up. The name, it's just going to be a complete blank slate.
Because I'm a ghost.
Because all it's going to have in there is different casinos that they've been caught at and reasons why and the dates and things like that. It has nothing to do with somebody's financials. Now, if you walk up to a game and you don't have a players club, say with a casino, because that's how you get rated and earn your points and your comps.
Yeah.
You just get you just get rated. Your cash gets rated as a refused name, which is just somebody who doesn't want their name to be known, doesn't want to have a players club card, and there's no info at all on that. It's not like I'm like, hey, camera, get me his name because he doesn't want to get a player's card because nobody's in a database anywhere unless they've been caught as a cheater.
You don't have like a whales list? Like,
It's only a requirement when you win jackpots and stuff that you then have to present certain types of identification, but that's a Title 31. That's a complete federal law. That's not even casino law. And that applies to all financial institutions, not just casinos.
Would you be upset if people came in wearing masks or makeup or tried to obscure their faces?
Oh, they're not
Would that
allowed.
be kind of a red flag to you?
They're not allowed.
Ah.
And during COVID, if someone wore, if someone was,
Mask.
wearing their masks, they weren't allowed to wear a hood or a hat with it.
Oh.
Now you're allowed to wear a hat if you're gambling. You're not allowed to wear a hood. Okay. Like if someone's playing at a blackjack table, they got their hood up and their sunglasses on. I'd be like, oh, sir, or ma'am, you gotta take your hood off. And if they don't want to comply, then they'll just be escorted out of the building or escorted from table games. Same with sunglasses. Now, sunglasses you're not allowed to wear. That's for game security purposes because there are sunglasses out there that can help people read the backs of cards. Like if there's any, like
Hold on,
somebody
you can't wear sunglasses?
No.
You're not allowed to wear them
Because
now in game?
Have you ever seen a blackjack discarder?
Well, not
Like
blackjack,
somebody-
but in poker rooms.
No.
Can't you?
Well, no, poker is completely different because you're
Poker
competing
rooms.
against players.
Okay.
You're not competing against the house.
Okay.
If you can mark a card, say you're playing a carnival game like a 4-card poker, and you can, because you get to handle your cards in 4-card poker, right?
Mhm.
So say for instance, you get 2 aces. It's only a 52-card deck. It's not, and the deck is going to be on the table for at least 4 hours. We change our cards every 4 hours on our tables, just because of basic damage and things like that. Sometimes earlier if they get really beat up. Somebody can take a card, they can mark the back of it with their fingernail. That goes unnoticeable to the naked eye because the pattern on a card is hard to read, the back of a card. However, if you're wearing sunglasses or some sort of glasses that will help you filter out the patterns on the back of a card, when those cards are laying face down, say for instance you're playing against the dealer in a 4-card poker game and the dealer's cards are spread face down, or if you're playing ultimate heads up hold'em against the dealer, which is another carnival game, and you have 2 cards and you see 3 cards face down that's going to be the flop, you don't know if you want to bet or not. But if you have an ace in your hand and you mark the back of the aces and you can read them, then you're like, oh man, one of my aces is about to flop, right? So that's a way of cheating. But one way to prevent that cheating is to say you can't have sunglasses at the table. It's a game security thing because
Wow.
in the long shot that someone is trying to mark and read the back of cards.
That's
Now,
interesting.
Anything that's medical,
Interesting.
if somebody says these are prescription, okay, they're prescription, I'll allow it. But I have to at least attempt that first level of game security. If they say that they're prescription by certain laws, I typically can't say, well, you're not, or I need to see a medical note, or I need to see your prescription. Now, I do reserve the right to cut their action at any given time, but that's a whole different thing. Juggling us around. Anyway, people are probably bored to death with casino talk.
No, this is-
and I could talk
No,
and
this is
talk
actually-
so
I
much
bet you-
about it.
Talked about it, Steve, so it's good information.
I am gonna wrap it up there just because I'm way over my limit. I'm gonna get in trouble. But this has been great, Steve. Thank you very much, Steve, for joining because We've had more people than I've ever had here. And Mike, thank you, man, for being here as well. Really, really thought it was a great conversation. I had a great time. Guys, thank you. I'll just go ahead and wrap it up. We'll be listening next week to Off Center. And if you haven't already, guys, follow Flipping Steve, win that contest. See us at the National. I know I'll be there. Mike's going to be there. Flipping Steve's going to be there. So it's going to be fun. Guys, have a great night. I'm going to go ahead and just kill the stream, man, because I do have to get out. I got to use the restroom and stuff. Mike, thanks again for being here. Thanks again, Steve.
No problem.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me.
Ziggy.
See you.